Hello, I'm turning around so you can see it's me on Leathur Rokk. I'm live in Washington, D.C., one of my favorite places to be. And I am doing this from the cyber room of the apartment building that I am staying in while I'm in town. I just got this phone today, so excuse me if I keep on doing weird things like I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. My intention was to live stream as much as I could of Trump's inauguration. Well, I can tell you what's expensive. There's a Safeway supermarket very close to the apartment where I'm staying on R Street in Washington, D.C., in the Northwest. And I get the feeling it's a guppy neighborhood. The apartments in his apartment building go for like $2,500 a month. I don't know if that includes utilities, but that's like OMG. My family was paying $1,400 a month for what turned out to be a 5-bedroom apartment. So this is not a cheap neighborhood. It's Phoenix Princess, I recognize you. Happy Sunday. It is so cold here. But to get back to the food prices, I wanted to make spaghetti and clams for the person I'm staying with, right? Something easy to make. You've seen me make it here on YouTube. I got the clam sauce. It was a sale, 2 cans for $5. We already had oil. We already had garlic. I needed to get onions. All the onions was $100.99 a pound. And so instead of getting like a bag of onions, a 5-pound bag, 10-pound bag, I got one single onion. It was 95/100ths of a pound, and it was $1.99 a pound. So I'm still paying close to $2 for a single onion. And normally for clam sauce, you need basil, oregano, things like that. There is nothing like that in his in his kitchen. And the prices were like over $7 each for little things are dried. When I think of how many spices I have in my kitchen in Atlantic City, and if I'm going to be staying somewhere for a while, I should have some basic things because you're going to be cooking for your people. If somebody lets you stay someplace, if you're a halfway decent cook, at least you should do is cook some meals. Am I right? And so, but when I saw how expensive things were, I wanted sardines, smoked sardines in oil. And sometimes if you're lucky, you pay $1 for them. If you're really lucky, you get 50 cents a can. These were 2 for $3. So they were $1.50 for your sardines, which are really great to put over rice. But we don't have a rice cooker here. So you don't make rice nearly as good. I'm spoiled on rice cookers. Even though they have an electric stove, but it's not the same thing as having something that automatically turns off because it senses the moisture level of the cooking. So you can be distracted by the TV or whatever. I want to say something about what's going on today. Today, there's a big football game going on, and I think it's really interesting to be in Washington, D.C. right now. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And, Pittsburgh Steelers' main, I think, arch rival is the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, here in Washington, D.C., their big team used to be called the Washington Redskins. And I know some people who have that tattoo on them. But now some politically correct people decided that we were insulting the American Indians, so they decided to call it the Washington Commanders. Either way, the Commanders and the Eagles are playing a game in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field. I passed by that field when I was getting on the bus to come out here a couple of days before the inauguration. I've been in town since, Thursday before, because I knew that there was a freedom rally. And I really, there's so many things are going on that you don't know about. And I almost don't want to cover everything in this live stream, but you deserve an update. And I physically was not able to go online at all to get on this thing. I had already disabled 2-step authentication because it was more trouble than it was worth. And I shouldn't have to, if I'm at the library in Atlantic City, and the only way I can get into my Gmail account is if the phone rings that my mother answers. That's ridiculous. They think everybody has a cell phone. Even now, to get this hooked up, I had to use my friend's cell phone to call home to say, Mom, you're about to get a phone call that says Washington, D.C. and says Google. Please answer. It's going to be an automated thing. It's going to give you a code. Please write it down. Well, not only did she take the phone, she was prepared. She had the pen and everything, but she even called back here to let us know, to save us some time, because there was some church group that had a real awesome breakfast a couple hours ago in McPherson Square Park. This breakfast, let me tell you about this breakfast. And I know I'm getting on a tangent here. I'm interrupting, but this breakfast was so good. They had scrambled eggs. Well, I couldn't eat them because they had cheese on them. I don't like cheese, but they had grits, scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage, crab cakes, probably from all that Maryland crab. We're very close to Chesapeake Bay and Maryland, and you got really wonderful world-class seafood around here. And maybe they were fishing the Potomac. I don't know. But let's see, what else was on this? They gave you a choice of donuts or biscuits. Of course, I had a biscuit. It was good, really good. The coffee was very good. I don't think you have any bad coffee in Washington, D.C. I really don't. I want to show you something really neat. You guys know, any of you are into stones and rocks? This is pyrite and how it grows naturally. And they're using his artwork for this coffee room. The cyber room is 3. But that's pyrite. And another name for pyrite is fool's gold. But it still has its uses. But that back there is a coffee machine. They used to have 6 different kinds, and they used to have sweetener, and now you got to bring your own cups, which is okay. They're all about being eco-friendly and all that stuff. It's been so cold out here. You know what? I'm looking at this phone, and usually you're able to see messages, and I'm finding out there's something I'm supposed to be looking at. Yes, this country is starting to turn around fast. It's, you know what? I'm going to, now that I think I figured out how to do this and I have this set up, I believe I will be able to live stream in any places here that have Wi-Fi. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be logging into. I was just told that there are these zones that incorporate a handful of parks, and if you're in that park, there's a certain Wi-Fi that you can log into. And once you've logged into it on your device, then it recognizes you, because there's always, you have choice of available networks. Last time I was here, I remember there was a Wi-Fi signal from one of the fancy hotels. It was so powerful that even across the street, 2 benches on the other side of the street where you can just sit down. And I don't mean transit benches. I mean, we have sometimes just flat concrete benches that have nothing to do with transit, where you can actually sit down and read or listen to the radio or think or write or do whatever. That's one of many really wonderful things about Washington, D.C. I'm looking real hard at my thing so that I can see this. To answer your question, hello, I was wondering, I know I don't mean to be arrogant, but I was wondering if what happens when a person drops off the face of this earth, like it seems I did. I did not mean for this to happen to me. When that bad man took my computer and threw it, that just really fucked up my world. And the thing is, I could not check my messages. I have messages set to moderation here on YouTube. And YouTube says after 30 days, if you don't check your messages, it just throws them out. I could not help it that when I would go to the library, I could not log in. Or it would send me to this loop where if I tried to get into my Gmail account, it would send a code also to my Hotmail account. Meanwhile, my Hotmail, which was over capacity months ago, would send a code to my Gmail account that I was already forbidden access to, and everything wanted to send a code to the home phone number in Atlantic City. But let me tell you what happened to me. So that bad man thought I was a hooker. He smashed my computer, okay? It was mostly broken, okay? The last video I made was getting out of the voting booth. That was the last video I made. Then a gust of wind took the computer out of my hand and I dropped it when I was putting my key in my home door. That's what happened to me. So Yeah. So I have been shopping for cell phones all this time. And I finally decided, well, I knew January 20th Trump was getting inaugurated. So I knew no matter what, I would be going to his inauguration. And then I didn't call and ask my friend who I'm staying at if I could stay at his house. I just, when he happened to call here, I mentioned that, Trump's got in and I'm going to the inauguration because I used to come in town and just stay a long day and then get right on the bus. Well, Greyhound has changed things. You can't buy a cash up ticket anymore. It says on the site that you have to get it online. They expect that everybody has some kind of a device, like a cell phone, and they think that you can buy this thing and have it, I guess, in the hard drive of what you're holding in your hand so that you can show it to the driver. Well, I didn't know this. I was all packed up to go and I went to the Tropicana where it used to be they had kiosks and stuff. And by the way, there is no Greyhound station in Atlantic City anymore. They're really messed up. So I showed up to Tropicana with this real heavy backpack strapped up to me. I mean, I'm seriously, I have this steel frame backpack that my dear friend Debbie, who I met through YouTube, and she sent this to me so that I would have something to take with me to go to Los Angeles. Ironically, the parts that might have been burned to a crisp now. Let's not even let me get started on that. I want to talk about trauma. If anybody is traumatized by anything, that thing, I don't know what I have to go back to. I still need to go there and deal with my storage. And what if that burns up? I don't know if it's protected enough by the fact that it's underneath the 101 freeway. The freeway is this steel and concrete thing that gives some protection from the wind, and it's all metal and steel. But once you get past the roll down metal gates, the storage units themselves are just made of wood. They're about like my size. The ones where my storage units are, they're about 4 or 5 feet square and long enough, at least 6 or 8 feet in them, that you could definitely move in these things. I knew 4 guys who were a rock band in Los Angeles actually moved in there was one that was small parking garage size, and 4 guys and their instruments actually moved in and had their instruments plugged in and got away with this for over 4 months before they were discovered. And I really have to give credit for them. So, okay, you guys, this is my very first live stream on my brand new cell phone. This is a Moto Edge. The guy swore you could add a 1 terabyte card to it, but I can't find any evidence that that's true. The rest of my things, I'm going to do it long way, but I thought that at first it had me on this thing for shorts, and in order to be a short, it has to be this way. But now it looks like to go live. Well, in the future, I'm never going to do it short like this. I'm going to do it long, but this is new. I'm just figuring out what the hell I'm doing. But okay, getting back to Greyhound not wanting to sell me a ticket. So I get to Tropicana, which is a very close walk from my home, as you know. And the guy would not sell me a ticket. He said that if you don't have it on the phone, and of course, the only people that were getting ready to go on this bus were people who did not speak English. And he asked them if they would, because I had cash on hand. I was going to physically buy a ticket. And the way they have it structured on Greyhound, the earliest departure you get is the most inexpensive one. It was $39 plus tax if you got it. The later in the day, the more the price went up. So I'm ready. And plus, if it's a weekday, it's cheaper than a weekend. Not by much, but it's by something. So the earlier, you're saving money. So anyway, I had cash in hand. Nobody spoke any English. I had no choice but to walk home. And that backpack was heavy because it was a steel frame. I packed for a week to 10 days here because, just in case I had something that looked formal. Decent guy. Hello. Greetings from Washington, D.C. I was there. Let me tell you something about this experience. Since I don't know the only footage I have of this, I shot on this old iPad that I bought for under $50 on Wish. And I filled it up already because it's only a 16 gigabyte thing. And the thing is, I thought that since the person whose apartment this actually is, um, who they're all keyed up for this football game that's about to come up, I figured since he had an iPad, he would be able to teach me how to use mine. And I figured if I could get the internet on that, I would use that if I didn't have a cell phone yet. And I would live stream as much of the inauguration as I had access to. But I hadn't anticipated that the venue only held 20,000 people. And they make you go through these mazes and all this bullshit just to get there. And I got some footage early on where I was not where you need to go to where the lineup started. And they got to see some of the snow falling down, and it was quite beautiful. And if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you know I try to go for the beautiful visuals. If I find something that gives you a feeling because it shows the atmosphere of the weather, and I'm a sucker for snow, even though I hate the cold. And they weren't exaggerating when they said the polar vortex was going to come in. It was very unpleasant. And the thing is, I didn't want to wear, which would have been arguably a longer coat, like my long leather coat, for instance. I wanted to just wear red stuff that would look good with the MAGA, you know. But I never got to, I mean, I thought I was going to be wearing something different every day, but it's been so cold that you're putting like all these layers. Like I'm wearing stockings, and then I'm wearing spandex pants, and then I'm wearing sweatpants on top of that, and then I'm wearing at least two coats because you want red to be your outer layer, you know. But and it wasn't so bad the first 2 days I was here, but then the temperature got colder. And the thing is, they set up bleachers for us around the Capitol, but they took them down. Then they had this thing where the first day, and I know I'm probably ruining whatever footage I end up showing you guys, but the first day first full day I was in town, I was going all over looking for a place to physically buy this cell phone that I'm actually using right now. And I talked to a Best Buy guy on the phone, and then but the sale was cell phone. I mean, it was internet only. I couldn't just pay cash at the store. So I had to give my cash to a friend, and he had to convert it to something so that he could put it on his card. And then we had to go to a certain Best Buy store. And after going clear across town, going in under the metro, I couldn't even tell you exactly where we went because Washington, D.C. has above ground buses and it has underground, which they don't call a subway. I call it the subway, but they call it the metro. And you're going all over. And because Washington, D.C. is this little area, and you've got Maryland, and you've got Virginia, and so you're here and you're there. And anyway, so we ended up in Anacostia, Virginia. Yesterday, the other day, we were in a place called Pentagon City, which I've heard of the Pentagon. I didn't know about Pentagon City. So anyway, by the time we finally got to the Best Buy where I was supposed to pick up both the phone and a 1 terabyte chip to make to have it. People were telling me for years, people were saying, Leathur, got to get with the 21st century. Everybody uses cell phones now. Plus it's a lot easier getting through security when you have something small. I agree. But people were all telling me that they do everything a cell phone, everything a computer does. And I'm saying, okay, world, prove it. Prove it to me. First of all, the reason why I did not get an Apple product is because you can't add to them. And I don't think there's anything ever more than a terabyte. Matter of fact, the iPhones, I think they get no more than what this is getting. It's a 512 gigabytes. But I can't find a tray to put the terabyte chip. I don't understand why this screen keeps on getting dark. It's asking me about chat filter and community moderation. And I don't care about monitoring. I'm about free speech, with very few exceptions. But if I keep on looking weird, like I'm touching the screen, like I don't understand what I'm doing. Chat filter. Show every message. Yes, I want to see every message. Yeah. Okay, it says welcome to live chat, blah, blah, blah. All right. Again, if you're just joining me and you wonder what the hell happened to me, a bunch of shit happened and I had no technology, bottom line. And it's hard to shop for things when you have no way to shop for them. You know, you don't even get ads for the tech big box places anymore that would help you decide, oh, wow, this thing has a specs that I know I need. In my case, I need something, obviously, portable is great, groovy. That's why people use cell phones, right? I don't talk on the cell phone. I don't talk on phones much at all. So I don't really care about that. But I like being online all the time. And I like knowing that I have plenty of room to take pictures and video. Bottom line. And also, I already have, I don't know what that clamp is called that you attach things to. You can put it attached to a tripod. And that way I could have this, and I could stand up someplace and I can be seen full body and stuff. I didn't want to take anything that I would have risk having security take away from me. I did not take my clapboard with me when I was going through security to try to get in. But now the weird thing is I got into the very tail end of Trump's speech the first day. That was the Trump victory rally. I only saw I saw the marching bands part, but not very many. I can't imagine a parade would only have 5 bands, but they were great. The choreography, the dance involved, I was very impressed. The sincerity and the pride of the people that took part in that, and seeing the village people, that was really a treat. But anyway, the first day, I was able to just hear the tail end of Trump's speech, the last like half hour or so. I didn't get to see all the stuff beforehand because I was all over town trying to find this damn cell phone. It was just really crazy. And the thing is, I don't understand why I never learned how to use this iPad. I have an iPad full of it's almost full of stuff. Oops. Oh, yeah, last thing I want is that to go off and be noisy. But yeah, I was hoping that since a friend of mine who's staying here uses iPads, he would show me how to use this one. And I couldn't get it to recognize the email address, and that way at least I could do things here or any place that has Wi-Fi signal, right? And the thing is, I needed to be able to get in my iCloud account in order to set up this Amazon Fire tablet that one of my friends who watches my videos here had sent me, must be a year ago. But I finally called Amazon and I got to speak to a human being, and they told me that I just needed to have access to a working Apple device that I could access the iCloud email account, because they said there's only one time that you can ever change the email address that you use to get your passwords reset. But normally I use my Hotmail account. But no, I don't want to stop screaming. I don't want to stop screaming. I don't know why this cell phone thinks I was trying to stop screaming. See, that's the thing, is maybe I'm holding it the wrong place. You know, I'm afraid of, one of the things I used to do when I used to film with a tablet, I used to sometimes accidentally hold my finger over the microphone, and so I would screw up the sound. I did this one time filming the Hare Krishnas when they were doing a parade on the boardwalk, and I didn't want to screw that up because visually it was a very exciting piece of content to have on my channel. And I wanted to respect the people who were really, really sincere believers in that. When I post things, yes, they're interesting content, but I never want to seem like I'm being overly exploitive, even though, yes, I'm looking for things I think are interesting and beautiful. But now I'm in Washington, D.C. for the next couple of days. Since this is my first time live streaming, what I'm going to be doing now, every chance I get, this will be multiple times a day at random. Every time I can access Wi-Fi, I will be live streaming. I haven't figured out how to do standalone video creation yet, because they don't give you much in the way of instructions with these new phones. They give you this little booklet, and it's really little, and it's very, very tiny print too. And I thought ahead, and I brought these reading glasses from the 69-cent store. You know, the store used to be the 99-cent store in Atlantic City, and when they were going out of business that final weekend, they were the 69-cent store, and I got those glasses. And I said, I'm not going to screw that up. I was going to bring that. I want you to see my shirt. I got a number of shirts. Let me show you something else. Shirt. I got this. You saw the shirt underneath it. And this hat here. I got this, and then I got two of another red hat that says Trump inauguration, and then it says on the back 45/47. And the reason why I got those two is because at the very end, they were selling them $5 a piece. And you know, you got to have something to pull over your ears when it gets cold. So I want to talk about some random things that are not necessarily about the inauguration or anything. When that bad man smashed my computer, I was in the middle, just starting to take my braids out of my hair. And I love to do that on camera. I like the process. I love how my hair looks when I'm doing that. When that guy did that violent act against my computer, I was in the middle. I was just starting to take my hair down, right? And I decided until I get back online, I'm going to stop taking my hair. Okay, so, okay, I'm propping this up with my clapboard. So what I've been doing is I've been using these clips. I've been putting my hair up, and I kept it up for over 2 months. Didn't wash it. Well, a couple of times though, I did spot dye it. I found another kind of hair dye that I'm able to actually cover up the roots and make it look like you don't have roots. And it's supposed to be really, it kept it intact. And then what I do is I keep it clipped up and out of the way. So by the time I was ready to go to Washington, D.C., my hair looked just like it did the last time I went on video. I told my mother, I said, I know you don't understand it. See, people who don't make content, who don't use social media, they don't understand. But for people who've been doing this as long as I have, it's been over 12 and a half years before this crap happened. We have a real need to share ourselves with people. It's not an arrogant thing. It may be some ego, yes, of course. I can't lie about that. I lived in Los Angeles too many years to say I never had any ego involved. And of course, my city is burning down around us. It's making me sick. All the favorite places that I would want to live, if I was rich, they would be right the places that burn. And I hope my storage doesn't go. I haven't been there yet. I have to go and deal with that, you know. My friends who were the people who I would a lot of times stay with in Hollywood, they have been in Burbank these past 6 years or so. The other day they had 100-mile-an-hour winds. They had to evacuate. How do you evacuate when you have a husband who has Parkinson's disease and you have cats and you feed feral cats? You know, I don't know that she has enough carriers to transport her own cats and the ferals. And, you know, evacuate them. It's always difficult when you have animals. Okay, I'm reading this. It says, I have chickens in Turnwood, old hippie. Thank you. I kept on, when I walk around these streets of Washington, D.C., and I see there are these, it reminds me of San Francisco in that you see these Victorian-looking houses, and you definitely see people running what are very hippie-like establishments. Including marijuana. Cannabis is legal here, except on federal property. And there are so many dispensaries, and I have been in dispensaries twice since I've been here, even though I don't have ID. But, you know, I'm well over 21. How much over doesn't matter, but I am definitely over 21, and I've been smoking since, at least age 14, 15. So I've been in two different places where instead of in Atlantic City, it seems like they have all this bulletproof glass and it looks more like high security, like bank / some liquor stores in some urban areas have bulletproof glass. It's like 2 or 3 inches thick, and you have like an ante room before you go in there, and it's like you feel that there's probably 4 different guards with submachine guns trained on you. If you sneeze in the wrong direction, don't knock over the schnapps when you're looking for the Chivas Regal, whatever. And it's you have to, the first thing you have to do in Atlantic City, in all of them, which is why I've never been inside any of them, is you have to show your ID. And then after that, there's a man in a separate room to check your ID. And it has to be not just any photo ID, it has to be scannable, like a database. Like, why does the government need to know who you are, or just all you're trying to do is buy weed? But that's the way it is there. Here, you go in, and if, say, only one person in your party has ID, that's good enough. You're still both allowed there. And you look at things. In the first place I was in, they only asked you 2 things in the beginning. The first place they asked you, do you want something from the $20 side, $40 side, or $60 side? Since I know I am a high tolerance cannabis consumer and I want the highest THC, since I've been smoking for so long, I want something I can actually feel. And I know that you get what you pay for. So of course I asked for the highest, which was a $60. So for an eighth, I paid $60. I only had 2 flavor choices, and one of them was a fruit that I didn't like, so I chose the other one. When I do my next video, I can tell you, unless I happen to have it in my purse, I don't know. No, actually, I wouldn't have brought it down here, because just like when I float around in Atlantic City, I have one particular handbag that I call my pot bag. And lately it's been my Hello Kitty bag, and I did not bring it down here because I figured what need would I have to bring that in the cyber room? So, but I had intended to do a bunch of live videos from here. I wanted to, one of the things I usually do until I have such a big interruption like what happened, because this was a big interruption in my life. There's other things, big things that are going on that I haven't even begun to tell you guys about. I'm tempted to give you, I'll be making videos about it, but I might as well tell you, this isn't even the biggest issue I have to deal with right now. I'm going to be moving very soon. If you've been watching my videos any length of time, you know that the building itself looks like it's falling apart. It's not only in a bad neighborhood, but it has been held together in a very frugal method by the last landlords we've had. The one that we had, the latest one we had, was not able to be here to be very proactive because he owned and operated a farm up in northern New Jersey somewhere. So he was so far away, he could not be here to be proactive and be around, as opposed to the people who actually live in the area and they can be more attentive to things. And I don't know how many other people he is landlord to, but the fact that he would rent out people underneath us that were, well, actually our first landlord was the one that started renting out to the churches underneath us that caused the hell that started to be my life. It's been a while because some bad man thought I was a prostitute, and he interrupted me when I was live streaming next to the Tropicana one night, October 29th to be precise. And I'm doing my talk, on the edge of the boardwalk like I do a lot of times because you get the Wi-Fi there. And he thought that I was a whore. He was asking me, if I was. I said, how would you like it if somebody said that to your mother or your sister or some chick you like? And I said, you owe me and my audience an apology. And I tried to put the camera on to face him, and he took my laptop and he threw it like a frisbee and destroyed my equipment. And, I'm not made of money, and the cops did kick me off the boardwalk with my guitar, so that was my livelihood. They kind of fucked things up for me. And when you're a full-time caregiver, like I am with my mother, I had to take advantage of times when she's in a hospital, like when those last times when I was live streaming on the boardwalk with my guitar. It was 4 days in a row I did that. The first day I was lucked out. Some guy gave me $100 bill, and he said he was a musician. He looked like one of the guys from Chicago. He looked like one of the original guys. Good looking, early middle 70s, really well taken care of, tall guy, but that was as good as it got for the week, because by the fourth day, the cops kicked me off the boardwalk, and they said, if we see you again, they'll fine you up to $1,000. So, but anyway, what happened a couple months ago? Okay, so this guy throws my computer and smashes it, right? So now I don't have any way of filming. And the thing is, I had videos planned about how, when Trump won, I was going to do a video all about getting the newspapers that said he won. I was going to make a video about that. But what happened was my computer was 95% smashed up, just holding on by a thread. And unfortunately, I was holding it in my arms while I was putting my keys in my door, and a gust of wind took it out of my hand and smashed it for good. Sorry to see you bye. My computer is kaput, excuse me. If I was in Israel, I'd be kaputs in the kibbutz. And if you're watching from Israel, I love you. I'm a pro-Israel YouTuber. I hope you guys know that. I'm not one of these anti-Zionist haters here. I love you guys, and I want people to be nice to each other in my chat room. So anyway, that happened. And so that's when I realized that since I knew I was going to Washington, D.C., let me start looking for a cell phone. And I've been, so I met this guy in this place where I go Saturdays sometimes. And he said he could fix my computer. He would at least take my hard drive out and put it in something else. And I dropped it off there. And almost 2 months later, he has never fixed my computer. And I'm thinking, I want my hard drive, plus my original laptop had all those Trump stickers on it and the pictures of the cat stickers on it. I have this one sticker I found of the cat drawing, and a cat's giving the middle finger. And I have this other sticker that's a seal for the city of Atlantic City. I want my stickers, So anyway, I just got that stuff back the Saturday before the Trump inauguration. That was the day after I was not able to get on Greyhound because I couldn't buy a ticket because they wouldn't take cash. So what I did was, as soon as I got my computer back from that guy who couldn't fix my computer, I arranged for one of my old high school classmates to use his cell phone so that I could buy a Greyhound ticket, so that I could leave, so that I could get here. And I still didn't have a cell phone. So then I tried to buy a cell phone here. So only now, today, did I finally get the cell phone. So that's how I was able to get online. But let me tell you what happened after I got my computer smashed. Okay, so my birthday came and went. Election day, Trump won. I was grateful for that. Fast forward to the 17th of December. Now, a week prior, we had another city code inspection. And, that's where they take the measurements of your walls and your ceilings, and they look for things where you fuck up. And the thing is, we had no information as to what it was they were looking for, so I could decide what to clean. All right, I had no idea what to do, and I was focusing on packing for this trip. So between that and I always keep a designated wall for my filming set. And the thing is, when I knew that we were having another inspection, I took down a lot of my YouTube stuff and a lot of my Trump stuff, because sometimes people hate Trump, they fuck with you more. And unfortunately, you never know. And Trump, anti-Trump discrimination is a very real thing. Just look at what FEMA did to those people in South Carolina and North Carolina, where the mudslides did all the damage after the hurricanes. That it's evil to think that people would do that. But it's like I've always been afraid of when I go to a doctor, if I'm wearing witchcraft stuff, if they hate witchcraft, then they'll think I'm satanic and they want to give me substandard health care. Until recently, I never had political stickers on any of my laptops, because I'm thinking, if I take it in for help and say I got all this Trump stuff on my gear and you hate Trump, how do I know you're not going to put a virus on or something? Every now and then you hear about professional people who discriminate against people for things. But anyway, I had my heart set to be here for the Trump inauguration. And of course, in the beginning, I started packing almost 2 months ago, but I had no way of knowing what the weather was going to be like. I was hoping it was going to be fairly warm, like his first inauguration, but of course it wasn't. And so I always end up overpacking, and I could see where I did, because I packed to have plenty of different outfits for video filming, because I like to wear something different each time I film. But I hadn't counted for the fact that sometimes it's so terribly cold, and nobody sees what you're wearing anyway, because you're wearing coats and stuff. And instead of wearing one heavy coat, like say my long leather coat, I chose to wear two coats inside each other, and if I actually wore a third red hoodie, the aesthetics of it's too much. I look like this absolute linebacker. I look obese. I look huge, and plus my arms, it's so tight. It's almost like in that movie, A Christmas Story, where the kids are so bundled up that they can't move. And your arms is real tight, and I needed help even taking the hoodie off when I got home. And then what happens if you're out in public and there's never enough public restrooms when you're out in places, especially if you don't know the area that well. I used to go here so a good couple of times a year, um, but before the pandemic. But then once Antifa and BLM people started looking after Trump supporters and kicking our asses and hunting us down, literally we had to seek help from, well, one thing, the Metropolitan Police Department here, they are really good when there are Trump gatherings or whatever. They make sure that, since they always anticipate counter demonstrations, they keep us separated enough. And if we go to hang out at different places, they escort us to safety. But now, one thing I noticed among many changes that have happened, because I haven't been here since the pandemic, I was not one of the J6ers. I want to clarify that for you right now. I was not there. I was invited there. I had every intention of being there. Of course, if I'd been there, I would have been in jail, and because I would have been carrying my laptop and I would have said, this is this, and this is this artifact, and this is this artwork. And I, of course, wouldn't have done anything negative or disrespectful. I would never have desecrated anything. And plus, if you are a cop or whatever it is, and you're reaching your hand over and you're inviting me in and you're lifting me up over barricades, then I'm not a trespasser. I am being invited, right? But anyway, I didn't make it there, so because the person, I had a ride there and everything, but at the time our governor said, if you leave New Jersey, you have to take a 2-week quarantine before you can come back in. And my mother and my brother both said, if you try, you won't be welcome coming back home. So that's why I didn't. This was before the vaccine, so I didn't have any way of protecting my mother, and it all comes down to protecting the most vulnerable of us. So because of her, I didn't go. So, but I haven't been to Washington since here. And I got lost trying to find certain things, because every time we have an inauguration, they barricade certain things so you can't get in. So, because I was looking for evidence of some of the statues where people did some defacing and things that I saw on TV that really made me sick. But I love this area, and I love the historicness of it. I love the reverence for, if you love America and you see these things, these famous buildings, these landmarks, these places where people gather to do their First Amendment activities. And I love it how there's so many areas that have Wi-Fi blanketed in a group of parks. They have Starbucks, they have McDonald's, they have some hotels where the Wi-Fi signal is right across the street. And you can be sitting down and you can get this. I don't know if all the mass transit here is, but the last time I was here, a lot of your mass transit was. But then again, can you imagine being on something long enough that you could relax and use the internet when you may be on a minute or two because you have to make connections and stuff. So some things have changed here, in that it was never this cold, aside from when George W. Bush, his second inauguration, that was terribly cold. And that was before I knew enough of the city to explore anything. All I knew of the city was the immediate area around the Capitol. And I thought that the city closed up at 5 o'clock. I didn't know that there were other neighborhoods. I didn't know that you could find lots of Chinese places, not just in Chinatown, but around there. I was on, you know what? I have to look at my notebook and tell you. This is the notebook that I brought with me. And, you always learn more things about a city when you go more. On 14th Street and 14th and P, that intersection, P Street around there's a number of Chinese restaurants, including, I found out the cheapest one, it's called Yum. And the person that I'm staying with, he just wanted chicken and vegetable stir fry. I actually got lobster. I got some called Seafood Delight, which there was one thing about it that wasn't delightful. It had one very, 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 very soft, mushy thing that had the consistency of overcooked pasta. It had this tubular shape that could have suggested a seafood, but it was too creamy to be a seafood, and I don't know what it was. But everything tasted like seafood. It all kind of made sense. But that's one thing because of the overcookedness and sliminess of it that I will never get that again. But they also had lobster fried rice, which is ironically something that I tried to get on my birthday, not this past year, which was total nothing burger. My birthday was 2 days before election day because my birthday is November 3rd. But election day was what is really important because, that's our nation and the world. And you could already see how months before Trump actually took the oath of office, he had been running, and before he hit the ground, and people were treating him like this president-elect was already in office and already starting to work hard, and all the people that he's been assembling on his cabinet, they're ready to work, and I think it's great how they are doing certain things. The only thing is where I'm staying. I haven't been watching Fox News Channel because they get Fox Weather, which ironically shows everywhere weather except your local weather here. It doesn't show this weather at all. I liked it on the inauguration day because it did show a bunch of stuff about what was going on here, and I thought that was wonderful because, hello, this is Washington, D.C., and it seemed like people were saying some real nice stuff about Trump. But since that time has come and gone, there are some local TV stations, but most of them are run by the different networks. And even the local Fox affiliate, that still has game shows and a bunch of stuff that's just it's not the same thing as having Fox News Channel. And not having any weather that you can get at will. Maybe I'm going to have to become dependent on a cell phone for that sort of thing. But that's not going to help me when I go, for instance, up in the apartment in this building. It's on the second floor. He doesn't have Wi-Fi in there, so I'm not going to be able to, I can't do things like this here. I could do, once I figure out stuff about filming video and camera, I play around with that, then I'll be able to make standalone videos. The thing is, I won't be able to do that this afternoon because they're going to be gathering. He's going to have a few friends over, and they're going to be watching the Eagles and Commanders game. Washington Redskins. And I got that. That's who I want. Amal. Hello. Hello, Amanda. Yes, it's hard to look cute with all the layers. And okay, I'm going to set this down. I hope I'm not covering up anything. This is a new phone. And okay, I want you to see there's this inauguration shirt that I got. Okay. Then the first layer is a long sleeve that I got in Wildwood. Okay. Oh, I want you to see this newest necklace. My friend, he makes jewelry, and it has a kitty cat. You know how I love kitty cats. These charms were on sale, by the way, at Michael's. If you know the Michael's craft supply store. Underneath this long sleeve is an insulated underwear shirt. So I got two long sleeve. Then underneath that is a beater underlayer that could even be a mini dress if I wanted it to be. Needless to say, and these just red cable knit tights, arguably the heaviest ones I have. Now I have blue, very thin stockings that I could garter up. And when I tried to garter them up, there was so much elastic that it was cutting off the circulation in my legs. And that's not a good thing. I found out that those spider veins that I have, my mother's explaining to me that they're going to turn into varicose veins and how they're bad for me and how they're eventually going to hurt and blah, blah, blah. So apparently it's not the sort of thing we want to encourage. And since I wear garter belts and stockings, I have to be careful about the things which constrict my legs. So I had to my garter belt to hook them up to give an extra layer because when the wind was blowing, it was cold, 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 cold. The first full night I was here, I was hanging out with my friend who volunteers at this peace vigil. I call it the hippie tent, but I kind of shouldn't be disrespectful to call it that. But it's this tent where people hang out all day and leg warmers. I got a bunch of those heat warmer things that I brought with me. I have American flag stockings that you hook up. I got all kinds of socks, whatever. I was thinking more for looks and fashion than I was for practicality, and I packed way too much. But I figured as soon as I got here, I'd be making multiple videos so that I could batch record, so that it takes the pressure off of me. If I'm going to be doing daily uploads, then I can go live whenever it's convenient for me to, and then otherwise upload every day. But I was just really bummed out when I wasn't getting anything from Washington, D.C., and I was determined. I said, I am not leaving Washington, D.C. without getting back on YouTube. I miss being live. I miss making videos. I was afraid that, life goes on without us. I was really feeling like almost like I was dying in a way, because if you're not putting out anymore and you drive off the face of this earth, and meanwhile all these other important things are happening, life goes on. It really does. You ever want to feel insignificant, try being a content creator who loses their equipment for a while. After a while, you realize when important things start happening on the news where you're dealing with people who have real problems. Like, what about the poor people in California? That shows that no matter, even if you have a shitload of money, if Paris Hilton and the Kardashians can lose their stuff, I mean, I can't even think. And I was wanting to go. Those are the places that I would be if I was rich and I could buy property anywhere. Those are exactly the places. And when I was living in California, all those years I lived in Los Angeles and some in Hollywood, in San Francisco, it was earthquakes was always what we were worried about. Earthquakes. Never once did I think about forest fires. And we always knew about the Santa Anas, them blowing down, and they were hot, and it came down, as opposed to the air that comes from the ocean and goes from the shore onto the Santa Anas, come from the mountains, and it go down, and it go hot, and it go down this way. But I never remember worrying about wildfires. Plus, I almost always lived, when I was in Southern California, I lived in Hollywood. I lived in urban areas. I lived in preferably the ground floor of apartment buildings. Sometimes they only didn't have any more than 2 floors. The highest I ever lived was 4 stories, because I'm thinking earthquakes, And it's interesting that they didn't have any skyscrapers in Hollywood until after 9/11. They had started construction on something near the Hollywood and Vine Capitol Records, which is near where my storage is. No sooner did they start making it, maybe they completed it all the way, they find out there's another major fault right there, Hollywood and Vine. And they were having, this is by skyscraper, I mean at least 30 stories. For LA, that's considered high. And I'm thinking, would they have done it that high if they knew that the fault was right there? So this was what I was always in the back of my mind. A California person, you would think, can you get out fast enough without getting hit by flying debris when the big one comes? Or if you're really close to the ocean, which ideally, another neighborhood in California I loved a lot was Venice Beach. Because you've got, I'm used to living near the ocean. And as long as I stay out of the sun, I love being by the beach. I love the things like the drum circles they had there, the hippie kind of people, the surfers, that community, But look at what happened when the fires hit Pacific Palisades. I knew those neighborhoods. When I saw that on TV, I knew from the brief amount of time that I had a car and I drove, I know what it's like to drive on Pacific Coast Highway and it dead ends to Sunset Boulevard, or you're going down Sunset Boulevard and it dead ends to Pacific Coast Highway, and that's right where Pacific Palisades is, where those places like the fish restaurant Gladstones, most of which I've never been inside, I've only been outside, so I recognize. Parking lots of Chase Bank, another supermarket that, again, I only knew the parking lot of. I knew some of these places from when I used to sleep in my car. But LA, to see that happening to people, and I just can't imagine. This is like when you see that people, they lost their home to a tornado, and it's a good thing they had a storm shelter. I just found out you couldn't work with storm shelters with these fires because they would suck all the oxygen out from underneath you. So you really do need to evacuate. But what if you lived someplace, it took you 30 years to pay it off, and you had, I know what it's like to live someplace for 6 years at a time. You accumulate a bunch of stuff. Happened to me in LA. That's why I needed to get my second storage, So when you live with a family and say your father, he's with you and he passes away, he leaves some stuff behind. And even with the extreme downsizing like my brother did, I had an earlier video where I mentioned my brother. I caught him and only partially confronted him with throwing out boxes of stuff, including pictures of mine. And he would take letters of mine that I'd written when I was in California, written to mom and dad. And he saw they had my handwriting. He tore things up and threw things out. And how I felt like punching the gut, And how I noticed I attract attention when I take things out of my own trash. Well, I found another box that was thrown out not too long ago. They had boxes of pictures. These weren't torn up this time, at least. So many pictures of my cats, my first cats. Family pictures when we were a happy family. Oh, so let me tell you what happened before I got here. So December 17th rolls around, and I'm on my way out the door to go to this place called the Red Door, which you get a lunch every Saturday. Okay, I'm reading some messages here because I see people saying some things. Amanda, just got these new long leg warmers. There's these for my legs. We were recording where you were. You missed you. This community has been very worried about you. Thank you for saying that. The thing that was going through my mind, at the risk of sounding like an arrogant shithead, is do people notice that I'm gone? I had no way of proving that it was me to go to the library and make a community post, say, hello, I'm here, I'm okay, this is what happened. Well, check out what happened December 17th. I go out my front door to go to the Red Door to hang out with my homeless friends and get a meal, maybe bring some food home to my mother, right? There was slapped a message on my front door saying that my building was condemned by the city of Atlantic City. And we had until January 6, 2025 to be out. Okay? Now, my brother, with whom I am estranged, he was out for the next 2 days. He and I, we have no relationship. He was out elsewhere. He's getting ready to move out anyway. So nobody calls my mother on our own home line. My mother doesn't go out of the house at all, except to medical appointments. Who is going to let her know? If I hadn't walked out the door to go out, and you have to stick your key in and lock up to leave, I wouldn't have seen that notice. I wouldn't have noticed. They give us 2 weeks to be out of here at the end of the year, just before Christmas. Now, good thing my mother, because she's a senior citizen, and we had some problems paying the rent last year due to some shit, she has a lawyer, helps senior citizens. She called him. And of course, because it was a holiday weekend, they waited a long weekend for somebody to get back to her. But it turns out the city of Atlantic City is so corrupt, they often try to evict people close to the holidays. And now, we had no advance notice of this. It's a good thing I have been packing up for the past 10 years. I got a head start on this, because whenever my brother and I would have a big fight, I would go and pack up a bunch of things. So I have items of clothing and shoes in boxes, and they're both zipped up and protected against rodents and cockroaches. They're protected in the front room. So, but anyway, the building has been condemned, and the building has been sold to an organization called Caring Incorporated. They apparently are a charity organization. One of the things they supposedly do is helping senior citizens get housing. Oh, the plot thickens. So yeah, The 6th, we were supposed to be out of here, and there's just no way in hell. Plus, nobody has offered us money to relocate. We do not have a vehicle to relocate. My mother is, she will turn 84 very shortly, in about 2 weeks. Okay, you can't just put a senior citizen out in the cold with no place to go. Plus, we have a cat. And the only person I know right now who has a vehicle, unless you are local to Atlantic City and you're watching me and you have a vehicle and I didn't realize you exist. Well, I have a friend who, he offered me a ride to Washington, D.C. for this inauguration thing. And the thing is, he showed up on the first day that I tried to go when Greyhound, when they wouldn't sell me a ticket from Tropicana. And my friend, he's diabetic, and I don't know what the medications are that he's on, but he was slurring his speech, and he kept on falling asleep when he was in my room. And then he was saying that he would ride in the back and let me drive. And first of all, my vision isn't good enough to drive. Second of all, I don't have a license. What would happen if we got pulled over? And I'm not convinced that my vision is good enough. And plus, I don't know how every car has its different things. You would have to have some learning curve of time, and if I got caught swerving or something, then I would attract attention to the cops, and then they find out I didn't have a license, and there'd be a whole lot of problems. So no, and he didn't seem like he was okay for driving. He already got in an accident where he hit some pedestrian lady, made her go airborne about 3 weeks ago. So my mother didn't like the idea of my getting a ride with him. I almost decided to, but then she asked him to leave. And when I came back after unsuccessfully being able to get my bus ticket, then there was no ride. So anyway, I'm here. But so far what my mother did was her lawyer knows that we got this thing. They never called and left a message on her. And the thing is that our landlord, even though it's sold to this new business, whatever it is, they still have our phone number. They have to, because from our original landlord. So why nobody has called to say, oh, hello, talk to my mother, whose name is on the lease, to say, we understand that we did this to you. We should have at least 90 days, I would think. But no, they did this to us. They haven't offered us any money. Now, my brother, he's already moved out for the most part. He's got a place in mind, and he's got a few different friends that they are holding his different kinds of stuff. And he's downsized a lot. He's got rid of more things that I would never get rid of my stuff, because I'm not a minimalist like that. I know life is less complicated when you have less stuff that you have to worry about. But it's like, I love my clothes. I love my things. And like, one of the things that I didn't really have time to go through yet, but is I have a big storage bucket that has my political souvenirs from all the inaugurations I've ever been to. And the thing is, I have other newspaper clippings and things that if I can go through and just get rid of things that I don't need, throw them into recycling, it's obviously the less clutter, the better. But I haven't been able to focus much on downsizing too much since I found out that our place is literally condemned. They are going to tear down the whole building. But they haven't given us any money or any help moving someplace. And again, not knowing anybody aside from that one impaired friend who drives. I found recently one thing, I don't know what you'd call it. It has 4 wheels, but it doesn't have a handle to pull. But it's something that I can wheel things, to move things. Okay, let me see what the thing says. Amanda Bennett, someone threw her laptop in water because they thought she was a prostitute. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. D'Angelo Castine, thank you for your comment on my hair. I kept it in a clip so that it would stay all right, because I wanted to be camera ready. I wanted to get something to film with ASAP, and I want to get a laptop again, whether or not, I hope I can rescue the hard drive, take the hard drive out of that machine and put it in something, because I have 3 videos in the can. that were shot before all this stuff happened. One of them is an update on a street cat kitten that I had found, and just different things. And there's things that I'm going to deliberately not mention because I would really like to make standalone videos about them. But while I'm here in town, I want to focus on Washington, D.C. I love this area. I find it very exciting. I really had thought that as soon as I got into town, it would only take a couple hours and I would learn how to operate this Amazon Fire tablet that I have and this old model iPad. And I figured once I was using them, I would at least be able to live stream whenever I had Wi-Fi. I was planning on this. Plus they were both small enough that I could get them past Secret Service. But I couldn't find out a way to get any of them to work, even down here with the Wi-Fi that's blanketing. Okay. So, and I had to just focus on getting safely to Washington, D.C. And I hadn't counted on how hard it would be to get a ticket because I didn't know that you couldn't get a ticket on Greyhound without having a cell phone. And now I'm glad that I'm able to do this without having a plan. I was really worried about signing up some kind of contract where everybody I know in Atlantic City, they're paying around $60 or more a month. And when the cops did what they did to me, they really screwed up my livelihood, And of course, I found out that not having a cell phone, just using computers, that really limited me to a lot of things that you can't seem to do with computers themselves. But now I'm wondering if there's certain things that I still can't do yet since I don't have a data plan. Like, for instance, now that I have a cell phone, I wanted to join Instagram. I wanted to join Truth Social. So many things that they wouldn't let me join because you have to get code by text message. And I'm wondering, since I don't have a data plan, but I'm just using Wi-Fi, if I can still join these services if they want to send me texts, if you need an actual phone number to get text, or if I can get things sent because, well, I have this computer, not this computer, I have this little heavy device, this cell phone that I'm so terrified of losing. They're so small. Why don't they come with wrist straps so that you can have them? Or say something that they're not attached to you when you're doing your turnaround and you're doing something like on a tripod, but say you're more than 20 feet from it, then something rings to remind you that you left it so that you can't lose things. Okay, you're saying you might be able to use an email instead for Instagram. That would be good. They make wrist straps and purses for your cell phone. Yeah, one of the things I was looking at when I was in Best Buy clear out in Alexandria, Virginia, I was looking at all these cases, but they weren't pertaining to what I have because apparently they were just for iPhones. And the thing is, I should have been hanging out with my friend who was actually waiting for them to drop off the phone, because then I would have probably thought to ask certain questions, making sure that it takes the 1 terabyte chip. Because I got this instruction booklet. They give you the tiniest little booklet, hardly any information at all. It shows the diagram of the device, and it shows this little tray that has room for this chip, which I guess if you have a cell phone airtime provider, you put this thing they call a SIM card in. But it doesn't say anything about the terabyte chip that is to expand it. The whole idea of spending all this money was I was having the 512 gigabytes plus the terabyte to make it compatible to a computer. I would never think of having a 512 gigabyte hard drive in a laptop. I would want a terabyte. But the thing is, that said, I don't miss the low quality of the webcam pictures. Now, I don't know what this webcam quality is. It says it's a Moto Edge. If you guys know anything about, it's supposed to be 5G compatible. I don't know. I was looking for something that held a lot of data so that I could shoot lots of video and do what I need to do but I still want to get a laptop because I really miss the big screen and everything, But let's face it, you can't, Secret Service takes a dim view of a 17-inch open laptop. And even when I was asking him in Wildwood about getting past security, and the guy gave me a look like I asked the stupidest question in the world. It's like some of those guys have no sense of humor at all. So, and I knew that to take a chance since I knew I was trying to get into this thing, because I got into the tail end of the first thing, but the second thing I didn't get in. But this makes me so frustrated. You waste so much time in these lines, and they snake you the crowd control thing. You're going, yeah, and I tell you, it's cold. And the thing is, instead of it being like single file, so nobody can, if you keep in line with people, you don't lose your place, right? But instead of it being single file going in and out crowd control, it was basically like imagine 3 different rows, like they were horse racing, and you're going in and out, in and out. So you could go higher and you can advance your way through. And the thing is, I'm always afraid of getting lost here in Washington, D.C., especially since we've been taking a lot of metro and bus rides, and those aren't free, You have to have this card, which, by the way, they're too easy to lose. And they have you load them with money on them. So you lose them, they're costing money. Don't lose them. They're like credit card size, and they're metro cards that you tap on things to get around. Before, I only used the metro one time. And the thing is, I never got these special cards that I wanted to get. They were collector's item cards with Trump's face on them. And just, for the inauguration. And apparently only certain stops sold them. I could never find them. Then they went away to having these ones about the pandas, the Chinese pandas in some zoo. And it's like, no offense, I don't give a damn about pandas. I wanted the Trump ones. But those were sold out, and you only allowed for them certain places, and I'm not about to go on eBay or something for something expensive. You're an hour outside. Did I buy a micro SD card? Yes, I did. I got a 1 terabyte micro SD card, and I bought that. And matter of fact, they were supposed to be on sale for $99, but now it went down to $89, so I got that. But I don't know where to fit it in this phone, and I need to make up for what lost time, because first of all, I felt like I've really been underfoot with my friend who lives here. He's got this real nice apartment, but half the week he volunteers at this peace vigil in Lafayette Park, where he's actually out in the elements, and is part of the condition of them still being able to be there, doing their civil disobedience and free speech and all that. That means somebody has to be there 24 hours a day. So he does these 12-hour shifts, and sometimes it's in the wee hours, it's all night. And it gets cold, even if you have hand warmers, even if you have a bunch of blankets. And sometimes people drop off things like coffee and food, and even occasionally money and stuff. Can I visit? Wait a minute, let me see this. I gotta hold this in my hand to read this. There will be a little flip on the top of your phone. Where are you? I'm on R Street in an apartment building. I'm thinking between 15th and 16th Streets. So, and it's a real nice building where I think everybody that lives here is young and they're making a lot of money, it seems. There's this room. I'll give you a look at this room. Here, this is has a TV, and if I wanted, I could turn it on. And there's your Wi-Fi thing. And there's the art on the walls. And you got these really bitchin' chairs. And they used to have the cups here, but this is the pièce de résistance. You can get free coffee here. And there's like 3 kinds. There's this. I want to see what you see. This, decaf, and then this. So this is the darker kind. So I had the organic French roast. You can get 2 sizes. Like I'll show you what you go through, you pick your flavor. And you can get a 10-ounce cup and a smaller ounce cup. And for the size of cups, it's in my friend's apartment. a big and a normal size is what I take. And then the first one I took strong, and the second one, because you can choose your strengths, mild, normal, or strong. So the first one I took strong, and the smaller one that I added to it, I took normal. But the only thing is they don't come with sweetener. And I was lucky that one of the places that we went to eat that was free had some extra sweeteners. Because, oh, check this out. There's this one place called Miriam's Kitchen that I went to eat twice today. And it's a place that's run by a church or maybe a series of churches. I don't know. But they have really good food there. And some of the volunteers, one of the organizations that donates to them is Boeing, the aerospace company. So I know that they get donations from some really high profile corporations. And so I have to respect that. Well, anybody that's doing good for people, I respect. And if I'm lucky enough to be the recipient of some people's generosity, I am grateful for that. But this room is wired for Wi-Fi. It's got free coffee, but you have to have sweetener. And this place I'm talking about, Miriam's Kitchen, they use when you get their coffee there, they sweeten it with this syrup, or maybe it's corn sweetener. I don't know, but it's liquid. It's like liquid sugar, and you squirt it into your coffee. But there was a bowl of some equals or something, and normally the sweetener of choice I like Sweet and Low. I think it's the safest of all the fake ones out there. But powders obviously are portable, and anyway, I bought some here, and I had to use like 4 or 5 of them, just for a decent sized cup of coffee. So since I don't have an unlimited supply of sweeteners, that's why I'm not going down here much. But that was one of the selling points of this building, is that you have a workout room. I'll show you some of this. I don't want this thing to turn off, so I'll only show you that. Here. Down this way. Down that way, there is a little gym. And it has like 2 or 3 treadmills, and it has some free weights, and it has some medicine balls. And sometimes when I'm here, I play with the medicine balls and I do some things. But truly, the most exercise I get whenever I'm in Washington, D.C. is walking around. And if I'm by myself, I get lost sometimes. It's very easy to do, especially when they close some parts of the city down and reroute traffic because of things like the inauguration and stuff. But, I just assumed that every day I was here, I would be creating content and everything, because I figured I never intended to be away this long. And it was making me very depressed. When you're used to being able to, when something inspires me, or I have something to get off my chest, or say something catastrophic happens, I might want to talk about something. And you take for granted that you could just whip out your device and go on camera and talk about things. And when some random act of violence prevents you from being able to do that, that really creates a hardship. And it was feeling like forces were conspiring against me. And all I was trying to do was just bare minimum survive, take care of business, live my life peacefully, and continue to upload and post on YouTube, because I love the platform and I love sharing my life with people, and I love talking about the things that matters, And when I was stuck, what caused me harm, some evil guy who thought I was a prostitute, when I was in Atlantic City, I was doing a live stream. He was trying to buy said kind of female, and he saw me all dressed up for my live stream. And when I'm looking for Wi-Fi, I have to go certain places that have Wi-Fi, right? So it was like between about 10 o'clock at night, and this nasty man didn't understand the possibility that somebody might be wanting to look cute for a video. And I guess he asked if I did those kind of things. And when I told him no, and I said, and he didn't want me on camera to say it. He didn't want to be seen saying what he said. But people could hear what he said anyway. And when I was using my laptop computer, and when I tried to turn it so the camera would come onto him, he grabbed it out of my hands and he threw it and he smashed it. And so anybody that was watching my stream would have gotten a good look at his face. And I was hoping that somebody was going to get a screen capture because whenever you do a live stream, the video becomes a standalone video. And the thing is, I wanted to take it to the police department and say, look, this guy took my computer, smashed it up, and I'm not making money, especially since the police in Atlantic City told me that if they see me on the boardwalk with my guitar, they'll arrest me. Yeah, and this whole thing is, and then he went and said that he knew the street I lived on. And now I don't know where I'm going to live when they tear this building down. And the thing is, my mother, years ago, not years and years ago, but at least this past 2 or 3 years, since before the pandemic, I told my mother that it would not be a bad idea for her to put her name on some senior disabled buildings. So that if something happens to our building, since she never seemed to be willing to just move out, even though things are getting worse and worse with the noise in the neighborhood and the fact that the churches downstairs, they keep on adding more and more nights in these churches, especially the Spanish-speaking church. It gets so loud. Instead, before it used to be, you could only really hear it in the very corner where my brother's apartment, part of the apartment was. Then you could hear his room to the storage room next to his room. Then you could hear it not only underneath my mother's room, in the kitchen, and even my room. It's like this whole length. It's almost like I think they removed all the sliding dividers and opened it up so that it's one big room, and the sound is like, how they have ears, I don't know, but they won't stop with their noise. Am I safe now? Well, right now I'm in Washington, D.C. I've been in town since the inauguration. I've been trying to get a cell phone so that I can finally let people know that I was alive, because I hated not being able. I'm dropped off the face of this earth. I was even thinking that I deserve my own hashtag, missing in action YouTuber, because I wasn't able. I couldn't just even go to the library and say try to go on Facebook because I don't remember my password. Number one. Number two, all my passwords get sent to my Hotmail, and I can't send or receive from my Hotmail because even as of before that guy smashed my computer, I was still at like over 102, 105% of capacity. Now, it's been a few months. It's been a while. I am glad to see you. I'm glad for everybody that's seeing this. I have been jonesing to go back on the internet. I've been jonesing to create live content. And I was determined. I said that I am not leaving Washington without going back on here. I want the world to know that I'm here. I want to be able to show you amazing things. This room is just limited in what you're seeing, obviously. This is not, unfortunately, apparently, Washington does not have a consistent blanket of where its Wi-Fi is. And this is my very first. I'm sure that the rest of my live streams are going to be normal size. This is only because this is brand new, and after you start with a certain orientation, I don't want to make it another way and screw things up. And I don't want to screw anything up. This is brand new, and I really don't know. I'm afraid that I'm just going to hit something and turn things off by mistake, and I don't want to do that. But now nobody asks about my mother, so I will tell you. She is home with Cat. The cat's been bonding a lot with her. This is from that breakfast. That breakfast had grips too. That was really nice. So yeah, I've been trying to get a device so that I could film for the inauguration. I had not counted. I hope this is not obscuring wherever the microphone is. This thing that I'm using to keep this straight, I don't know where all the mics are. If this is obscuring the microphone, let me know. I'm going to need to get a case or something so that I can keep it mounted on something. But what else? Okay, so we need to be out. We've got no place to go. And one of the main places that was on my street that used to serve lunches we think they may be closing because they keep on, there's less and less services that they have. But it does look like my mother and I are going to be moving on to one of those. Now, this is another thing. My mother says, I don't want to live with old people. And what can I say to that, you guys? You say, Mom, when I look in the mirror, you know, I don't even like to use the word middle age, and I sure don't like to describe someone like myself in that regard. But sometimes, if putting a label on some convenient thing enables you to allow society to help you, you know, especially if it's involving things where you can get a price break, you know, who doesn't want, it's like, hey, even the ultra feminist me, back in the day, I never complained if ladies' night meant I got in someplace free because I'm a chick. Hey, bring on the freebies. And if you qualify for a discount because of something like you're a student or they think you achieved some arbitrary senior designation or whatever, if you can get a break, just like does anybody fault our veterans for getting a break or whatever, you know, times are tough. When I saw what they wanted for food in this very neighborhood, you know, things are really, really expensive. It's a good thing for certain organizations like I'll say the Salvation Army. You know, I love it when they partner with local supermarkets and they have days where they give things away. It's in addition to the food banks, which are the food banks you have to show ID to go through all these things. But when the Salvation Army partners with local supermarkets, they give away free food twice a day, or not twice a day, twice a week. You just have to show up early in the morning. With any luck, they give you a ticketing system so that you're in the line, so that there's less corruption with bad people showing up in line early and stuff, which is, well, I did a video about that without naming names and stuff because it was really making that whole thing stressful just for the privilege of getting groceries. But when you see how expensive groceries are now, it's something that Trump talked about in some of his rallies, talking about how bad the economy is now. And one of the things I noticed back in Atlantic City is there are less and less discount places to get things. It was down to one 99-cent store left. I haven't been able to see where the dollar stores are here. I did see where Trader Joe's is. I love them. When I was getting, the day that I went and got Chinese food, at the tail end of staying in that peace vigil, I tried doing a shift with my friend. It was so cold. It was really very, not the most unpleasant cold I've ever felt, but it was really cold because you're sitting there and you have cardboard under your feet, and even if you got a lawn chair of some kind, and you're bundled up wearing as many layers, you know, and you have a bunch of blankets over your head and stuff. And but that's the thing is with this peace vigil at Lafayette Park, it's called the something Thomas Memorial Peace Vigil, and it's across from the White House. So if any of you know Washington, D.C., you know of the area that I'm talking about. Lafayette Park is near Pennsylvania Avenue between 16th and 17th. On 17th Street, there is a McDonald's, and that was one of the other reliable places that I could go to for Wi-Fi and bathrooms. There was also, I think there was a hotel across the street from St. John's Church that had a Wi-Fi signal that you could get across the street. But as far as that park itself, doesn't seem to be wired for Wi-Fi. And until very recently, it was all cordoned off, so I haven't had access to it. In fact, that's why I got disoriented looking for my friends who were staffing it. One of the days when I was running around trying to get access to the Trump stuff, and after they filled up and they said that there was at capacity, there's 20,000 people, it's not very many people, you know, for the Capital One Arena. And I'm walking around trying to find my friends in their memorial, and every year when they have an inauguration, the Secret Service moves them to another place. It's always a different location. Sometimes it's just a perpendicular street. Sometimes it's actually, they expand the barricades, and so it's a full block off. So I think this last time they had them clear up on I Street between, I'm guessing, 16th and 17th. So when you're that far away, then and I wasn't looking, I must have just missed them, because one of the things that you don't see right away is I was expecting a tent-like structure, and what it's covered with is a whole bunch of signs advertising a bunch of things. And to be honest, most of the signs are things I don't approve of or agree with, so I was ready to ignore it, and I walked on by those things that said Free Palestine, and it said stuff accusing Israel of apartheid and all this stuff. The only thing that I agree with them on all the signs was on it, they had some stuff in support of cannabis, and they had some pro-choice stuff, but they didn't have any good stuff about Trump. Never do. Never had any good stuff about George W. Bush when I was here. During the years that Obama was here, I never had reason to come up here. See, when I come to Washington, D.C., I come here to celebrate. I come here because I'm happy, and it helps if you can afford the bus fare. It really does. But this whole thing of Greyhound phasing out the physical stations, I mean, if everybody really does have cell phones and everybody really does have access, and it seems to me that this is no longer, the internet's no longer a luxury that most people have. It's now gotten to the point where it is a utility. If we're expected to have it, why is there a differentiation between they're encouraging people to have Wi-Fi access to do their homework, schools and stuff. They're having Wi-Fi in more and more places, and yet people are still, they expect everybody has a cell phone, and a cell phone you might have to have a data plan for them. What if you don't have the income for a data plan? What if you can't get a free Obama phone because they say that somebody else who lived in your house already had one, so you don't get that? My brother had so many of them, I wasn't able to get one. This is good. Let's see what this says. I never knew I'd be dealing with Trump-Draven syndrome from my family for a decade. Yeah. They were seeing some things about him in his first term, all that Biden and Wolf used to come. With Trump, when people would say crazy things about what they thought his intention was, what he would do to this country, they had 4 years of him. He didn't go crazy with anything. They're worried about him having the keys to the nuclear code. They didn't trip about Biden having them. And then they're freaking out about Trump having a Diet Coke button. Everything they're freaking out about. It's really ridiculous. I'm here because I'm happy he's here. I'm here to celebrate him, and I'm hoping to be able to make a lot of freestanding videos, and I hope that it's going to be easy to upload them from this into, to YouTube and stuff. I haven't begun to try to get on Twitter yet, because I frankly don't know what the password is. And again, if that's buried in my Hotmail, I may need to try to deal with the spam in my Hotmail first. Because if I have a whole lot of extra stuff, that's going to make finding things even harder. And plus, if I can't send or receive, then, and it's massively, massively full, like say it's 110% of my storage limit, then how would I possibly find something that I get somebody to send me? So I would think that I have to do a bunch of deleting from my Hotmail, which will take me many hours. I used to be able to go to a library and do that. But the thing is, ever since they started forcing me to get a code, in order to use my Hotmail, they forced me to get a code sent to my Gmail account. And you see what happens every time I'm in my Gmail. They send the code to my family landline in New Jersey. So like I had to have it sent to my mother, and it's a good thing she saved time by calling here and letting us know the code so that I could set this up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do this from this phone. So, but I hope that I will be able to do all of this stuff with this, and I don't know exactly how long I'm going to be here. I was planning for through Chinese New Year. I was even going to, I even have some clothes packed that I think would be halfway suitable to that. But it really doesn't matter when it's so cold that you're wearing a bunch of layers anyway. You know, how can you show off what you're wearing if you got all these coats? I'm usually wearing 2 coats. But Wi-Fi, yes, should be free for all. Because it's a basic thing, and we're expected. One of the things I want to do, I hope I don't need a cell phone plan for this. To ride the metro here, you have money that you put on little credit card shaped cards that are too easy to lose, if you ask me. Another way to pay is to download the app on a cell phone and you pull out your phone. I think that's an excellent way. And if you don't need a Wi-Fi, if you don't need a cell phone plan, if I can do it using this phone here, and again, assuming there's Wi-Fi out there, that I think you have to show it, or if it's just in your pictures and you just bring that up, and maybe that's how they know that you have the card. But I definitely think I want to use that because I think that's a great idea to have it in your device. And if I can keep the device only in a certain purse or something, which is going to be a challenge for me because I'm used to changing my devices all the time, especially in light of this whole thing where you have to have a tote bag of some kind because no places will give out plastic bags in certain places, like the state of New Jersey, the state of California. They're trying to save the environment by limiting the use of plastic. But I noticed they give out plastic here in Washington, D.C. That's really useful. You take for granted how much you use plastic until you need trash bags or something, or to separate your clean clothes from your laundry. Boy, feels good to be here. Yes, I was looking into them. Some of them though didn't seem like it came with unlimited. And I found out just how much data certain activities that we do, like for instance, this act that I'm doing right now of doing a Wi-Fi thing, that is creating and using up data. And I was wondering if some things you could do from a Wi-Fi connection so it doesn't use up any of this. But if I did not have this Wi-Fi connection, how big a file, you think how big some of these files are. Like I know my mom and I did an 8.5 hour cooking live stream once for Thanksgiving. It's 8.5 hours. Yeah, because, talking family stories and stuff. And when I went to download it, see, I learned things the hard way when YouTube started targeting some of my videos, and they would accuse me of saying forbidden things and forbidden concepts and expressing forbidden feelings and things that I wonder if now maybe they will restore things and apologize to us for depriving us of our free speech, like when Mark Zuckerberg admitted that the Biden administration made them be especially restrictful of what they were letting people say on YouTube, and then doing those fact checkers, which I never understood how I'm making a post that's friends only, and I'm getting these strangers that have the ability and the authority somehow to correct what I'm saying, or I can't express my opinion without being accused of inciting violence. It's so ridiculous thing. When an arsonist was running around setting fires in Washington, D.C., during the pandemic, and I called him an arsonist first of all, which was my mistake, because apparently that's hate speech. Apparently people who set fires, they're protected class now. Can't insult protected classes. And when I advocated, the man deserved an ass whooping. And I even got clever with the @ sign and the double dollar signs. And now Facebook took that site down, and they threw me in Facebook jail for 30 days because they said it looked like hate speech, like similar posts I've made in the past. And they said that posts. They could not allow posts that advocated for incitement to violence. And yeah, Facebook is a real interesting thing. This time, whenever something happens and I'm forced offline and all of a sudden I'm deprived of being able to talk to people, it forces me not to be able to share how I'm feeling with people. And at first it's very miserable and it's very weird. But after a while you get used to it, and then you start thinking, I don't need to express every little emotion to everybody. First of all, most people don't give a shit. Second of all, if I'm having a real mental breakdown because I'm having real serious things happen, it's going to make me look embarrassing, and I'm going to look back at it later and say, oh my God, I wish I didn't say that. But that said, sometimes your world really is falling apart and you can't let anybody know. And I was forced with, like, I have a physical address book and it has very few actual physical phone numbers on it 'cause I'm not a phone person. And I know fair enough people in Atlantic City, New Jersey, but most of them are in the homeless community. They aren't driving, they are dealing with their own thing, and a lot of them have addictions to serious things like crack and heroin, and many of them are drinking way too much. And so when you talk about, and I know you don't look at your friends for what they can do for you, and I don't want to be a user, but that said, if that's most of the kind of people that you're forced to be picking and choosing with to surround yourself with, those are not the best. I don't want the street to rub off on me, okay? That's the bottom line. When I lived in Los Angeles, when I lived in San Francisco, even when I was on the street, I really tried to elevate my mind. I tried to be, well, sometimes I was politically active. I was very creative. I tried not to get down and be brought down by the fact that maybe there's people that were seriously destroying themselves with things. Did I get a chance to see Stephen Pearcy's Rat? Oh, I love Rat. Of course, I loved them in the 80s. I used to go to a club in Hollywood called the Cat House, and I remember Bobby Blotzer was in line to go there. And Bobby Blotzer is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and my family is originally from Pittsburgh, and we're all Steelers and Pirates fans and stuff. So, but yes, I agree with the good things you're saying about Trump. How true this is. So you said God puts us in desirable and hopeless places. Well, like, I keep on harping on this, but it is damn cold out here. And I'm looking at my homeless brothers and sisters out here. I've been eating at freebie places. The breakfast I had this morning was really quite wonderful. Even though I don't like how I was typecast, I don't know why. Where I found a bench where I found to sit in McPherson Park, some lady who was one of the volunteers there, she saw that there was some scrambled eggs that was thrown on the ground. Well, they weren't mine because, first of all, I didn't take them. I didn't take any because they had cheese in them, and I don't eat cheese. So they ask you whether you want something before they give it to you. But anyway, when I sat down to this one available bench that was there, I hadn't even noticed that there was crap on the ground. It had nothing to do with me since I didn't do it. But anyway, this chick asked me if I put it there. And I said no, I just happened to be sitting there. But just the whole idea that she would assume that I would do that sort of thing. And I hope it wasn't a racial thing or a political thing. I'll never know. And I'm always entertaining the thought that it might be a political thing because I was wearing this hat. You can't not wear hats and gloves in the cold here. One thing I noticed, even though on the cables, whatever the TV channels my friend gets, it's weird. They get Fox weather, which on one hand, I like it better than the Weather Channel because the Weather Channel seems to have too much focus on the global warming stuff that not everybody thinks is a man-made thing. But at least they give this local on the 8s that every 8 past, 18 past, 28, whatever, you get your local thing. With Fox weather, can have that on for hours at a time. And when does it ever show local? I'm looking at even lower on the screen, the Chiron, it never shows Washington, D.C. What's the point of having a weather channel thing that all it shows is the weather all over the country? I'm not saying I don't care about all over the world. Of course I do. I don't want you guys to have your houses blown over by tornadoes. I don't want you to get wildfires. I want what's best for people. I'm not an asshole. But that said, if you're going to have a weather channel of any kind that shows people, it should both give an overview of the country and then be able to show you what's your own backyard. You should be able to look on your radar and see what your local weather is. As a matter of fact, you should be able to have that on demand. Ethnic background do I have? Well, first of all, my family has been in the United States of America since before we were America. Family tree was taken, and they were both sides of the family came over on those early ships, early 1600s. I don't know if it was actually Mayflower because there was more than just that ship, but we were early over there. And the bloodline would have to be English, almost exclusively English, maybe a little bit of Scottish and a little bit of Irish and even less German, but overwhelmingly English. My grandma had things done, and matter of fact, she joined the Daughters of the American Revolution. And though when she did it, I didn't have such an attitude like I have now. I love my country in a way that I didn't always. And it's easier to join something like that if you have a living relative to join it. Plus, I think you need to have a certain kind of money and civic engagement. And I don't think I have enough of a pedigree as far as what I've done with my life to really be eligible. I have this YouTube channel, but look, I fell off this earth for 2.5 months or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know that a YouTube channel is enough to get on that, but I am very European. And I say some things that I don't mean to be arrogant, but they probably do come across as arrogant. But one thing that I refer to myself as, well, people through the years, the acceptable speech has changed, has definitely evolved. Like you used to be able to say Indians, now we realize, hello, they're actually people from the continent of and country of India who are actually Indians. So you can call them American Indians. Then people started switching it over and calling them Native Americans because they said that they were here first. But then we find out that even like tens of thousands of years ago, there was a land bridge that enabled people from Asia and Europe to cross over to America. I believe this is up north near the Bering Strait in the Bering Sea. They called it the land bridge. And that's why if you look at the American Indian people, a lot of them actually have some Asian features that suggest that there are some similarities to the bloodline. So when I say, well, I was an American, meaning not me personally, obviously, but my family who came over here, we were Americans before America was an America. So in essence, I would think that makes us Native Americans because we were here. Okay, well, it was just, we were figuring things out, and I can't speak for my ancestors, how everybody's behavior was. I really don't know. As far as this global warming thing, my perspective on this whole thing is, and I've gotten in so many arguments with this, people forget about that big red ball in the sky called the sun. Earth is not 6 million years old. Earth is billions and billions and billions of years old. Human has only been on Earth for such a tiny fraction. If this was a big giant time clock, humans' time on Earth was only in the last hour, last 5 minutes. So we have had, even with our technology, even with the bomb, even with our pollution, which granted we shouldn't be polluting, we are not powerful enough to do these things. We have no idea how long has it been since we've had records that we keep track of. What, maybe 200 years? What about the times that earlier versions of mankind had records and they were destroyed through cataclysmic events? So we will never know what the temperatures really were. So for humans to be so arrogant is to think that we are responsible for these things when we only know last 200 years, and we forget about the sun. We forget about what causes the seasons. This thing called axial tilt. If we were on a perfect north-south axis, there wouldn't be differences that would cause the seasons. It's so perfect that because of the seasons, we're able to have growth cycles and be just a perfect range of all the places that orbit our sun. We have such a perfect orbit that nothing is too terribly extreme so that we can grow crops, so that we can survive, so life can flourish. So those are things I'm very grateful for. One of the big things that stresses me out about this whole climate thing is people don't realize that this is an economic weapon against the Western states. Things like the Kyoto Treaty and the Paris Accord unfairly punish economically the United States and us very developed nations. We have to pay economically in a way that other places like China and Russia don't have to pay. Places that are allowed to use the dirtier coal technology. And you certainly don't want to penalize China because China, last I heard, is the biggest buyer of the world's cars. So they're a big buyer. They who used to be anti-capitalist, some of them have discovered prosperity and they want to take part in this economy and they want to have cars and things. So there's a need there. So we don't want to X China out of a very lucrative market. And since there are countries such as Russia that will gladly sell fuel to them. So yeah, there's this whole thing about the climate science. And it's a shame that certain highly respected people like Bill Nye the science guy, he got a Congressional Model of Freedom Award by Biden, and of course getting Soros that award. Oh my God, I wanted to throw up. Since this thing happened where I was kicked off a line, this really threw me for a loop because usually I'm always in production where I'm thinking about subjects I'm going to plan home for, but I got really focused on this inauguration stuff. So, but now I don't know. I when I get back to New Jersey, my place is a mess. I'm going to continue to pack up, and the place looks so bad. But I still want to get a laptop because I really prefer having the big screen and I like being able to press a button and do all that. But if I find more places to go out, that's the thing is when I don't have a clamp for it to hold it straight upside down and a tripod, it's really hard to keep it at the proper angle, and I really am afraid of losing this, and I don't enjoy the small screens. I have to go maybe back into the setting and enlarge the fonts a little bit or something. In order to use YouTube, I had to download a YouTube app. I was really concerned about that because they give you a choice of like 4 or 5 different things pertaining to YouTube. And I wanted to make sure that I had something that would work for an actual content creator that would allow me to get into the studio part and just do the things that we normally do, checking our things. And I still haven't checked all my messages. I hope that everything wasn't deleted. I'm assuming that shortly after that thing happened, people made comments, and the thing is, there's no way I could check those messages, And I just focused on getting ready for Washington, D.C. And I was really upset when I couldn't get into the thing because they'd gone to capacity. After you'd wasted hours, literally hours in the cold, snaking in the line to try to get in for the actual inauguration day. Because I caught the tail end of his rally. But for his actual thing, around 9 o'clock in the morning, my friend and I started making our way to the Capital One Arena. And first you had to find out where the line started. You wasted a lot of time figuring out just where exactly the thing was, where they had the crowd control medal and stuff. And it just took so long. And I was actually filming while I was waiting in the line. And at one point, I got a full up thing in my iPad. And it was ridiculous because I'm thinking the footage I don't think was really that good anyway. And since then, I've deleted like 3 different pieces of video footage that was just crap because I was walking, and instead of having the camera aimed where you could see something, it was junk footage, you know. Aside from showing a few of the shirts that people were selling, you know. Fixamoto, hello. Greetings from Washington, D.C. I hope that that's not covering up the microphone. Greetings from Washington, D.C. This is probably the only time you're going to see a vertical video like this. I got a brand new cell phone a couple hours ago. I was knocked offline by a bad man in Washington, D.C. who smashed my laptop computer. He thought I was a prostitute, and when I told him very angrily I was not, took my computer and threw it like a frisbee. And I thought I met somebody to fix my computer, and he couldn't do it for whatever reason. And I was trying to buy a cell phone, and I'd already made up my mind I was going to Washington for the inauguration. So I got here, and I'm here, and I just today got the cell phone, and I said, I'm not leaving Washington, D.C. till I learn how to go online with it. And the thing is, I don't have internet in the actual place where I'm staying. This is one particular room. I'm going to show you. This is what they call the cyber room. And this is my friend. Hello, Craig. I have been successfully live streaming. People were worried shitless. I told them that I'm here and I'm safe. And so yes, once I had the code in, there's a couple of steps that I skipped because it was stuff that wasn't important. But I was able to get into the back of my studio, and I said, look, I don't know what these comments were. YouTube may have deleted them, but I want people to know that. And I just told them what happened about my building being condemned and how, you know, you shouldn't throw out little old ladies in the heat of the winter. So,
Bogey's going to be here any minute.
Oh, that's going to be groovy.
The game starts in 45 minutes.
Oh, okay. I was just told that big Eagles Commanders game, Redskins, is going to be
Commanders.
Commanders starts in what, 30 minutes, 40 minutes?
40 minutes.
I'm so excited. But you know what, Eagles, I'm Steeler Nation, so I'm back in Washington, D.C. right now. And there's so many people, everybody's wearing that burgundy color. You know, and of course some people, they have all the original tattoos of the Indian head, right? People have that really groovy. I'm talking to somebody who has some really beautiful tattoos, and I was just showing people the pyrites there. That's fool's gold. That's very special. But yes, people were jumping in the chat room, and they were worrying about what happened to me, and so I had probably 5 or 6 times I had to explain that bad man thought I was a working girl and smashed my computer like a frisbee. Said, goodbye. And how I said, you know what? And they know that I'm a Trumper, and they figured I would be here at least in spirit. And I said, I have to.
The door will be unlocked, so just come on up. I have to go get to the back door.
Okay, so I guess I'll be up there in a few minutes.
Okay, good.
Because I don't mind watching the game too. Oh, plus you can tell Bogey, whisper in his ears that if he wants to inhale, I imagine we'd probably be able to go out in front and come back or something if he wants to, you know.
Smoke some weed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, I mean, he's
Bogey.
Bogey.
You can smoke it upstairs, I don't care.
Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. Okay. Oh, yeah, did I mention that we have dispensaries here in Washington, D.C.? My mother is back where she is. The cat, you know, every time I have a male acquaintance over my house, Garfield, I don't think likes men. Aside from my brother with whom I'm estranged, who's moving out, and he's moving out, he's going to be living in, if you guys are heard of, what's a place up on the boardwalk real close to New York Avenue. So if you guys know AC, that's the high rise that he's moving to. My mother is back at the place. She's in contact with a lawyer. So that lawyer will, and the lawyer said, don't worry, stay put. My mother has been getting rid of a lot of things. Let me tell you what I did New Year's Day. On New Year's Eve, we didn't do anything because, well, first of all, New Year's Eve in the afternoon is the anniversary. My father passed away. He did that around 12:20 noon. So New Year's Eve has always been a complicated thing. Fix him out. Oh, no, I'm not anybody's mother, thank you. Even though sometimes I wonder what would have been, but you know what? My mother thinks that I have done too much chromosomal damage from the drugs and alcohol that I used to do, and I am a very serious weed smoker. Now, I wish that there was Wi-Fi up there because, did I tell you, weed is legal in Washington, D.C., even though you can't buy it on federal property. There are 2 dispensaries, and I'm going to probably, if I can find a way to not only shoot video and pictures with this, but if I can find a way to, I guess you have to use your YouTube Studio app, right? Upload videos this way. I would like to make some standalone videos in Washington, D.C., and I want to batch record them because now that I have this camera, this cell phone, I have a feeling I've worn out my welcome a lot, and I probably can't stay here too long because you know they say fish and relatives stink after 3 days. Well, I have this giant steel frame backpack I packed for 10 days worth of outfits and 10 days of me, not 10 days of maybe a normal person because I like to have lots of outfits and stuff. Oh, if anybody hasn't already, you don't have one of my business cards. This is my business card. I guess I can classify myself as a YouTuber now that I'm back on YouTube. I was feeling so bummed out not having any way to tell people that I was okay. I couldn't go to the library and check in and say, guess what, that guy smashed my computer. When I get something else, I'm back. I couldn't. In fact, I even heard that somebody was going to be setting up a GoFundMe page to help me out because this whole thing that our house is going to be demolished. My mother wasn't given any information. I'm her caregiver. We have a cat. You can't just throw people off the street. In that other tablet, in that iPad, I took pictures of the condemnation notice. I'm a big breadstick bitch. I'll do a documentary on her. One thing I noticed when I'm talking on camera, sometimes, especially if I'm walking around the city, like I was walking around New York City and I was talking to somebody, a fellow YouTuber, and I started talking about something in my past because I did a lot of showbiz stuff. I was a movie extra. And you don't make a lot of money with it, but you work on films and TV, and they pay you and they feed you, and it becomes a real community where you work with your friends. And because I'm a rock and roll looking person, I tend to work with a lot of musicians, models, goths, punkers, industrial music fans, people who are very visual, and a lot of times they're in the club scene when they're not making movies. But they also skew very, very, very liberal. And if I was to go back there tomorrow, I would imagine I would have to closet my Trump stuff because there's so much hatred against him. But that said, one of the videos I never got to make yet was when I was going to Wildwood. I'd already been there for the Trump inauguration. And there was some event that was going on in the Gothic community in New York City. And they were going to have a Gothic beach party in Wildwood, New Jersey, and this was this summer. And I was going to go because I figured there were some videos that I didn't get a chance to make when I was at the Trump inauguration that I wanted to be able to make. As long as you bring extra clothes, you can change into whatever and make your videos, right? So I found out about this Gothic beach party, and I decided RSVP because it was on Facebook. And of course, on Facebook, when you RSVP to something, they make a note that the organizers can see your basic information. And that's kind of key there because apparently, well, the blurb about me mentioned something about my being ultra mega. And I'm sure I have a lot of pictures with the red hat and what have you. And anyway, if these are people who decided there are certain people they don't want, if they see this Trump stuff about me and they decided they didn't want me. So what they did was they blocked me. I guess in how they disinvite people is they just make it so that you can't see their posts at all. So I was there on Facebook and I could not find this group, and they didn't give the address of where the thing was going to be. They were going to wait until it was closer to the event, and then they were going to let people know. And one of the things that really hurt was I have a friend I've known since my San Francisco years who lives and works around New York City, and she was going to go to this thing. And we were going to use this as a chance to hang out for a couple hours and catch up through the years. And this is somebody who she's very liberal, so we would not normally be hanging out at the same events because she likes the Bidens and Clintons and all that stuff. But where we do agree is we're both Zionists. We both love the state of Israel. We both are against the pro-Palestinian stuff that's going on where people are saying that they support Hamas, even in light of the terrible atrocities that were committed in Israel, So anyway, this is somebody I consider to be a good friend. And when Facebook blocked me, or the organizers of that Gothic beach party, disinvited me and blocked me for the information, I got the feeling that since she was obviously not disinvited from it, since she's obviously not a Trumper, and she got information about the location of this event, and she could have shared it with me. Because I was thinking of going anyway and just showing up, but not saying anything, not getting political at all, unless somebody decided to put on a hat that had Biden or Harris stuff or whatever. I figure I'll keep my mouth shut. I won't be the person to start it. But once somebody exercises their First Amendment speech by wearing a hat, wearing some insignias, I figure if they're doing it, they have the First Amendment right to do so. And if they have the right to do it, then why don't I have the right to wear mine? If you can I've been on dance floors where people have Biden hats and we're dancing, but a dame rounds on the dance floor and I'm going to dance. I'm not going to discriminate against people. If we're all listening to good music together, I don't care whether you have a t-shirt that says I love Satan. It doesn't matter to me. If we're all there because we like music, let's dance. Does Israel love us? I would think, yes, in the way that, okay, look at all those people in California whose houses burned down. If you can find it, or anybody can find it in them to still love those around them, especially people who they don't know and will never meet, even if everything they have lost was burned to a crisp, if you were lucky to escape with your life and your house had been burned down, like so many people in California, again, I have to ask them, can you still love those people around you when you've lost everything? I guess we all have to work on ourselves if we care about trying to better ourselves as human beings. It's like I have had to explore how sometimes when I'm upset and I'm feeling sorry for myself, sometimes I feel real negative. I think, if I can't be happy, okay, I'm gonna be miserable, so y'all gonna be miserable. I'm gonna make you miserable because fuck you, that's why. And that's not a nice way to be. And I know that. And sometimes when I'm home, I catch myself being that way when, especially on nights when the churches are down underneath us being real noisy. And it's like, oh my God, just chill the fuck out. But dude, they are getting louder and louder. And then I overheard, before our January 6th out day, I heard talk from somebody volunteering for one of the churches that said, because I asked, I said, how is it none of these churches have made any impression that they're getting ready to leave also? That the only places where I saw these signs saying you have to leave are in front of the entrance that I use, and the entrance that my brother and the guy in the other apartments use. And I'm guessing there must be a sign on the wooden steps to the other apartment, because there's a total of 3 apartments. There was no such sign put on the clear glass entrance to the church itself. Even though all the doors are painted a certain color that's cohesive, so you can tell the building is controlled by the same people. Notice it controlled, not owned. So the churches seem to think that they just need to clear out the people ahead, as if it's so simple as clearing out the people. These things they're clearing out are possessions of people that have lived here at least 18 years, some of us. They have the possessions of people that have been dead a while. They have lots of boxes and stuff. If you knew, okay, my mother used to be a Boy Scouts of America. We had lots of stuff. Now, was I just bounced offline? It says online, and I didn't know I wasn't online. So only when they lose everything will they love us. No, I was asking if losing things makes it harder for a person to love other people because all of a sudden they're going through this big, huge loss. Whether it be your house burned down in the case of the people in California, or in the case of Israel, if, say, you just got released from being a prisoner and you're a woman, so you've been raped many times, and by rape, not just the vaginal way, but other worse ways, and done other things that were done to you. Look at the people who were tortured. Look at the people. Why do you have to set people on fire? Why do you have to kill babies? Why do you have to, when a whole family rescues under their bomb shelter, why do you have to burn whole families to death? Why? It is not necessary. So when atrocities like this happen, and okay, people keep on saying, oh, sometimes Israel hurts innocents when they're defending themselves, but Israel, by their very rules of engagement, they minimize potential collateral damage. Yes, sometimes mistakes happen, and it's always terrible when innocent life happens. But they're not out committing terrorist attacks, killing hundreds and thousands of people, and again, in the most painful ways, raping, and not, and like I said, in the most worst kind of rapes possible, and the tortures. Those things are not necessary. But then neither is what Russia did to Ukraine. That was another thing. This is so unnecessary to do these unprovoked violence against fellow mankind. I'm not an overt peacenik. I believe in peace through strength. I really believe a lot of these things wouldn't have happened if Trump was already in office, but it's under the timeline that it was. Things are what they are. And I hope that we can, I don't know how we're going to get through all this stuff collectively. I know it's a world I'm talking about. Now, how is Los Angeles going to be expected to have an Olympics in 2028 if half of it's burned up? I don't understand. And what is a rebuilt Los Angeles going to look like? Can you make anything that's truly can't be burned up? What's it going to look like? It's going to look totally different. And are people going to be willing to risk working your whole life for something, having decades of possessions and things pertaining to generations of your family that can be gone like that? And what about those poor people who, believe it or not, can't afford their own transportation? When after my car got stolen, I lived in LA, I was a pedestrian, I was taking buses. What about the people that don't have vehicles? How the hell were they supposed to evacuate? And there's only one way in, one way out. Can you imagine being really poor and not having a vehicle? How are you going to get out if you were living in those areas? So I'm thinking I want to ultimately go back to LA. I don't know where the fuck I would be going to. Yeah, don't hang with people who judge you on politics. I agree. However, sometimes it's beyond your control. Like, okay, I'll take, for example, I was in Atlantic City and people told me about an organization called Volunteers of America. Sounds like a great organization. People that are volunteering to do different things to help people out, right? Sounds good on the surface. Well, this was when people were trying to talk me into getting a mailing address for my YouTube so people could write me letters and stuff. And I'm thinking, I don't want to put myself in danger by giving my residence address, so why don't I try to get a mailing drop? And I had taken my MAGA hat off just before going there. Well, they ask you a bunch of questions to try to see how deserving you are. And apparently it got out that I had a YouTuber, so they classified me as media. And they used that as the official excuse why they wouldn't help me. Now, this was a couple years ago. This was before the pandemic. This is way before I got my 1,000 subs. Okay. So I didn't have this many people, and so I was bigger now. I was doing daily uploads and stuff, but I was still of a low income, and I was still trying to survive and trying to find ways to keep my channel going. This whole time I have been focusing desperately on how to get back on YouTube. I was thinking, man, if I can't manage the basic requirements of keeping workable equipment and finding an internet thing and being able to ideally broadcast things live, even if you don't have the luck of a blanket email thing. If I get a chance to see something really awesome that's going on, I want to be able to share that with the world. And say, like when I saw Trump, I wanted to be able to show the big arena. I want to be able to show the landmarks. All I got to show was walking around stuff, and I've been trying to. Hello. Oh, I'm talking on YouTube. Oh, some people are going to be. I don't know if I'm supposed to bring this in here, but there is going to be a watching party, and I'm going to try not to lose my signal. Hey, I heard there's going to be a watch party. I heard we're going to have a watch party.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm doing a live broadcast because, the internet doesn't go there. I got my new cell phone. And in case anybody would be interested in any cannabis, I have some. So
really?
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, I got some too.
All right. I got a glass pipe. It's a shame I can't. Now, if you want to go down here first or something, but all my stuff is up there.
Okay.
But he said he was
I'll be
coming
up.
down to let you up, so I'm stoked.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Got
I
some
hope
food and
your
grub.
Washington people beat the ass of those Eagles because they're my arch enemy. I'm a Steelers fan. Anybody that's beating the Eagles,
Yeah.
they're my arch rival. So go Washington, beat their asses. All right, I guess I'll meet you up there in a few.
All right.
Okay, so now we are going to be having a watch party for this Washington Redskins / Commanders versus the Philadelphia Eagles game. That is being, I believe the people in my area, there may be a news blackout because it's so close, but because this is an Eagles game in Lincoln Field, they're showing it on the local Fox News channel here in Washington, D.C. So, and I just found out that 3 friends of my friend who I'm staying with, the one who says whenever I'm in Washington, D.C. that I can stay on his floor and shit. Well, he's having some people over to watch the game. And some others besides just me have weed. I think I have this too big. There. As you can see, I'm still figuring out how to work this thing. Okay, now I'm looking at the I'm looking down at watching this. I'm reading what you what you said on your, I can't, unless I get real close to the thing, I can't even see what you guys are saying. But so I tried making my spaghetti and clams last night, and Safeway is the nearest store, and they're so damn expensive. The clams, the canned clams, 2 cans for $5 was the sale. And I really wanted to put some basil, some oregano in, all those herbs that I was growing in the garden, where I live. They want like $7 for a thing of spices. It's like, no, that's ridiculous. So my sauce wasn't as great as it could be. And I got 1 onion. We had olive oil. I had to use garlic powder because I didn't want to get fresh garlic there. So it wasn't the best sauce in the world. It was all right, but I believe when you're staying in somebody's apartment, the least you could do is cook them some home cooked meals. It's the least you could do. You go to the store, you buy them at least some groceries, get something, because if they're letting you stay, getting you out of the cold, and you figure you're probably disrupting their lives just by getting underfoot. I got a big backpack. You should see my shit spread out over on the couch. It looks like hell. And I tried to push things over so there's seats available. I'm going to have to really put some things back in my backpack. But I had to have things so I could look at things because I wanted to have all these visions. So is my sound okay? Oh. Now, I still don't know where the holes are for the microphones are, so I have to be careful how I hold this. I would definitely like to get a selfie stick. Now, I still want to get a laptop. I was actually hoping I could go pick up a laptop while I was here too, but because those small QWERTY keyboards, now I don't know since I think this has Bluetooth in it, if I can actually, when I'm home, use this with this big gaming rainbow colored backlit Bluetooth keyboard. The keyboard is like bigger than the keyboard even for my laptop was, but if I could use that as my keyboard, the only thing is it doesn't have an alphanumeric thing, so I can't, and it doesn't come with a mouse. That's the only thing. That keyboard doesn't have a mouse attached to it. So even though it's charged up, you can't do anything that requires clicking on a mouse. Okay, I gotta stick this under the light so I could see. Oh, did you see the purse? I was going to sew a strap to this, and I was gonna use this to take inside the inauguration thing. I felt so bad for people. They had 2 sets of instructions on what people were allowed to bring into the arena. And first they told people they could bring little clear backpacks and they could bring small purses. Then apparently they told people they couldn't bring anything except for, I guess, their cell phones and their wallets and some very, very tiny things. So people left all of this stuff outside just before the entrance to the security screening for this thing. So one of the things I was looking for when I realized I was locked out and I couldn't get in, I was figuring that, okay, I'm not a thief. I wouldn't steal people's purses and things. But if I see a package of peanuts or a package of trail mix or something, or a bottle of soda, I'm going to score that because it's just going to get thrown out anyway, right? And I mean, soda is soda, snacks are snacks. Food is hella expensive. And especially after walking in that Safeway, I'm finding out here it's not cheap. And Amanda Bennett, I don't know one thing I discovered, the cash benefits, which is the slang, the euphemism for welfare in New Jersey, what they were getting in Atlantic City, New Jersey, I finally asked, just out of curiosity, not that I was thinking of getting anything while I was still had a place to live and I was taking care of my mother, but I was curious about how much the cash benefit was, because I remember when I was in San Francisco in the middle 90s, welfare, you get like $345 a month. And the food stamps was $212 a month. Now, in Atlantic City, I heard your cash benefit, aka welfare, was like not much more than $100. That would not pay my storage in LA that I need to deal with. It's nothing. And I heard that the only reason why some people get more is if you're disabled. If you have some kind of a disability, you get more. But it's literally not worth it yet. And especially if they're going to have a lifetime federal limit on when you get benefits. If I start collecting benefits before I'm actually homeless, what if I use up my eligibility and something happens and I really hit the skids and I'm really in trouble? That's the thing, is I don't know what's going to happen. Yes, Thixie, I think, would be fun on TMZ, both for his style. I've seen Fiximoto, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you do that documentary about that guy who was a juggalo? And you're talking about the life of juggalos and juggalettes and this whole culture of people who love the Insane Clown Posse. And it was really neat for somebody like me who knew, only thing I knew about them was I knew about their image and I knew that they were a real community, but I didn't really know too much more than that. But you really humanized them, that man, and answered some questions that I always had about them, because they are either loved or hated, and they're definitely misunderstood. But there's definitely things that I respect about their community and how they, not unlike deadheads, not unlike people who go to rainbow gatherings, not unlike people who go to Trump rallies, people treat everybody like they belong. And doesn't matter what your religion is, doesn't matter what your skin color is, you're there because you're a fan. Everybody automatically is supposed to love and respect each other and treat people like they belong. So many times, for whatever reason, we don't feel we belong where we're at because people treat us crappy. And when you feel like that, when you're made to feel like that, I mean, you know how that feels. So you don't want to make people feel like that, you know. Yeah. I find Atlantic City is becoming so hard to live with the way the cops are ramping up their enforcement, the war against the homeless people there. And yet certain agencies are cutting down on enforcement. Like when there's code blue and it's really, really cold, there are some places that set out cots and they let people in, stay off the streets. But oh my God, it's been terribly cold here. And things have changed so much since the last time I was in Washington, D.C. Like, I think it's because they don't want to have paper blowing around, trashing things. But they don't have lots of paper printouts where you could get information about services and things. Like one thing I did write down is a place that is offered as a mailing address. And I have that written down in my notebook because I really do think Washington, D.C. is someplace on my short list of places where I think I could be happy. And Washington, D.C. does have a program that helps people who are homeless get off the streets. But the only thing is you have to be in town during the time of the summertime. I believe it's around the time of Juneteenth, where at the time when I was first told about it, it was at the height of when us Trump supporters were being chased by people. And as a matter of fact, I need to mention something. I got to get off my chest. I know somebody in Atlantic City, and I'm not going to say his name, and I'm not going to say what religion of peace he belongs in, or the fact that he looks the absolute opposite of me, or the fact that he's a big, rotund man, okay? And again, he's in that religion of peace, you know. And I heard him bragging about how he intended to go to Washington, D.C., and he and his buddies wanted to mess with us Trump supporters. And he was bragging about how he and his buddies, who belong to the same religion of peace as he does, were beating up some Proud Boys people. And of course, I had opened my big mouth because I couldn't keep my mouth shut. And that's one of my little problems. And I said, there's no way any self-respecting Proud Boys would let themselves get beaten up by fill in the blanks. And he accused me of insulting his religion. And he said he doesn't beat up women, but he was going to have my ass whooped by some chick. And luckily, the person I was sitting next to saw who it was. And this was some chick who, again, doesn't look anything like me. And she wears a series of wigs so she could look like anybody. And I was this close to contacting the FBI and saying, look, a person of this description is threatening to cause problems. And not to mention the fact that he wants to whip my ass, but anybody wants to create problems for the inauguration, obviously, you know, you guys have a right to know about it. But people tried to reassure me that they didn't think he had money to get there. And the thing is, it doesn't take a lot of money to get here. You can get here for as little as $44 if you have a cell phone, and you could show your thing to the driver, you know, to get a seat on here. But one thing, it being as cold as it was, I think that discouraged a lot of people who would have just come here to do mischief. So I heard that there was a march against Trump the day before all this festivities. But then a couple of days later, I understand they had the March for Life, which if you know me, you know that I'm actually pro-choice. But I certainly wasn't out there for that. I was basically trying to keep warm when I could and just search for getting the cell phone And then some days I would go to different places like Miriam's Kitchen, who really has good food. And then there was this van that serves, and I don't remember where exactly it is, but they had meatloaf the other day that was real good. But the thing is, I don't think there's quite enough public restrooms here in town. And I forgot how cold it was, because I swear this is colder than it was when I saw George W. Bush get his second inauguration. Because there I had to march in place to keep from frostbite. Yeah, I really like biography videos. It really, especially things that give you a day in the life of somebody, you know. And that's why I like vloggers, and I like the people you actually, it's like why I watch certain kind of reality TV, some of the things on TLC. You actually become invested in some of these characters, and you care about them, and you hope that you just care about people, you know, and I think people get humanized when you're going through things and they decide to go public with things and show their struggles, and it's not easy to do with some of this stuff. What is my message to the youth of America? Well, first of all, one of them is I don't create content for young people, and meaning I don't want, and I would feel terrible if somebody told me that I inspired people to take any chances or do anything based on my admissions of my past behavior. That's why I say that, you know, and I don't want to be that hypocrite, but I will say that the journey that I've taken in my life, I think some of the best decisions I ever made was stopping the hardcore drugs and quitting the alcohol. I do enjoy marijuana. That thing I still do. But my message to young people, at the risk of sounding like that hypocrite, is try to stay away from real chemical drugs and try to stay away from alcohol, even though I know that our many cultures celebrate it and it seems like it's a fun way to meet people and things. What it is you don't want the poisons in your body. What I think we all want is ways to connect with other people, ways to hang out, listen to music, meet people, which arguably you could do it with cranberry juice or a Diet Coke. But if I could think of what I want to my life purpose to be for my channel, I want to show, among many things, is I want to show that it's possible to live a life as frugal as possible and still have it fulfilling. I want to showcase my love for cats, okay, just because I'm a cat person. I want to showcase that you don't necessarily have to be the richest person in the world to have fulfillment in life. And if I have a lot of homeless friends and I want to show them on my channel, I'll do that because they're my friends. And if you're my friend, I love you. And unless you're doing something that's really, really hard to respect, you know, I think that it's important to give people the voice if they don't have a voice. Like if I have a friend and I find out that they're being abused by some cop that's tying them up with handcuffs and making them watch while they destroy their stuff, for instance, as I've seen happen. I think it's important to say these things happen. In the same token, if I see a random act of kindness, I think we should talk about that too. And I think it's important to share information. If there's ways to teach people things, if there's ways to help people, I think we should do that. And that's one of the things I want to share. One of the important things I try to do on my channel is if I can find a way to teach somebody how to do something, like how to rescue an animal that got stuck in a glue trap. It might not seem like a very important thing in a grand scheme of things, but to that animal that's going to die a horrible death, that means something. If you could do something so similar with, you know, a way to help people. And like Amanda says, you can't take money with you when you die. In that aim, I am glad that we have the internet and archives for things like pictures and videos and things like that. I'm often asked, and I often think about, say if I'd won that big jackpot when we had the big lottery thing, what would I do? And I wanted to definitely get some property, set it aside to make like hippie communes for a bunch of my friends, get some more people off the street, and have all the bills paid ahead of time so that people weren't pressured to work hard just to pay wherever their rent is, because not everybody wants to do now. I'm looking at what people. Okay, obviously, two people. Okay, I'm seeing a comment not directed toward me because I don't know any dog trainers. But anyway, no, I think it's important to not always be a taker and to find ways to give back. And I always wanted to make a cat rescue, like a sanctuary, and also buildings to get my homeless friends off the street. But the thing is, with cat rescue things, having land and having people and things, animals on the land, then if something happens, like there's a forest fire or something, how do you move all them? It's easier to crowd people from a building into buses and move them, relocate them. But how do you evacuate large groups of people and large groups of animals? That's a thing when you don't even have a vehicle now. So, but I want to, because I have some experience in the homeless community and I have a lot of homeless friends. I don't think I could teach people how to avoid being in the homeless community, because that would be like saying, how do I teach you to be able to always to make enough money so that you never have to let that happen to you? I don't have those kind of skills. What I can offer is I had years of experience in dealing with that issue. Of course, I was in California where I didn't have to freeze to death. And my heart goes out to people who have to be where it is cold and they're outside and they have to be over a storm grate, which is what they usually do in New York City, or here, different places, and having to get to know a city well enough and get around. And because I don't go here as frequently as I used to, I don't have benefit of having knowing the map and being able to go all over and take underground. And because you've got this little bit, which is Washington, D.C., and then you've got Virginia and you've got Maryland, and people are used to going all over. And of course, how far you travel denotes how much it costs when you're traveling around. So there's all these things that it takes a while to get to know. And can you imagine trying to stay warm because you don't have access to warmth when it's really, really, really cold, and having to plan your day around which places not only serve food, but they have bathrooms, and where you can get bathrooms without them bugging you to spend money, or where you can plug in your devices. There's just so many things to think about. But when you're worried about the cold, that adds to it. And now I know this town a lot better than when I first started coming here, and all I would know was like the capital area, and I thought that around 5 o'clock, I thought that the sound just rolled up, and because I didn't know that there were lots of other neighborhoods that I could have gone in. But now, for instance, I know that there's a whole bunch of restaurants that are open later than 10 o'clock at night that you could get food, which is how Los Angeles should be, where you could get late night stuff. Jen says, we had snow at the beach this year. It's been so cold for the stray cats here. Oh, I only saw one cat since I was here this year in Washington, D.C., and it was a cat that some lady had in the carrier. When I have been here, I never see street cats. Occasionally, I see people walking their dogs. I see rats. I see rats going in and out of buildings. You know what building had a lot of rats? The Australian Embassy. The last time I was I wasn't in the Australian Embassy, but I used to pass it by when I was going, one of my routes going from, I guess, the Lafayette Park area to up this way. I haven't really done much walking around by myself because I'm so afraid of getting lost. We still have unmelted snow from some snow drifts. I found a couple of roaches, but one was wrapped up like a roach, but it was not. It was just tobacco in it. And somebody gave us a pre-roll yesterday, and it looked like it had black pepper in it. And it was like the weakest stuff. It was so weak. But anyway, the two dispensaries I went to, one of them, you had the stuff divided into 60, 40, 20 stuff, and the other stuff you could actually look at a menu. And the highest price stuff was $50, so you could get two $50 bags of, in theory, the highest price stuff. Instead of what I was going to do is get a 60 of the best of this other place, and then a 40, which is obviously second best. But, let's see how long this weed lasts. Because I mean, I smoke it and I don't think I feel it that much. And if I'm smoking it outside in the cold, I definitely don't feel. Because something about things that really cold, or when people wrap things in spleefs, the tobacco makes it so I don't feel anything. Yeah, I wonder about how. And when you have some kind of storm that ends up with flooding and stuff, are the cats intelligent enough to go to achieve higher ground? And what happens when there's mudslides and things? Like California, I'm telling you, seeing what's going on up there, and it's just so traumatizing because I'm thinking those are all areas that I would be glad to live in. Not necessarily could I afford to live in them, but if I had an excuse to live there, Oh man, my sinuses are like bad. I have cetirizine pills up. I'm going to have to stop this thing soon because a few minutes ago I got a warning saying that I was down to 20% of my power, and I had this plugged in as soon as I got it. And I don't understand why it would be draining so much. I do favors for my breadstick addiction. Love the white sauce too. Sometimes I have to get sweeteners whenever I'm near a coffee shop or something because I can't drink coffee without some kind of sugar or something in it. My mother drinks her coffee black with nothing. I need to have some kind of sweetener. Sorry about that. I'm going to give you a look at the outside. If you can see anything. This place is supposed to be a luxury. It's easy for me to give my mom coffee because she doesn't take anything in it, so that is so easy. I hate it when I have a guest over, and if a lot of times I don't want to offer people coffee because if they're going to want sugar and I only have a few, I can't bring myself to drink coffee without some kind of a sugar, and I don't want to. Yeah, well, I guess when this is technically the basement, there is actually real classy steps that are curved, and the thing is, they have this thing where whenever I was outside, I couldn't ring the doorbell. You know how some places, the entryway has all these buttons, and you just press the button of the person and it rings in their apartment. Well, it doesn't go like this. You actually have to call them on your cell phone, and people here, I think they hate Trumpers. They literally, last time I was here, they physically held the door so I couldn't come in. They're just like, kind of how some people think some people are scary and don't want to let scary strangers in. And I had never experienced what it's like to be thought of as somehow a threat. It just boggles the mind. As if I looked to some people like I was capable of committing violent criminal acts or something. Oh, I want to show this to you. This was made for me by the person I'm staying with, who also is an artist. If you looked at the playlist of my videos in my Washington, D.C. playlist, I have one about a friend who's an artist. He has art all through his apartment, and he has way more now. And I'm sure I'm going to be making videos. I may even interview him again before I leave here. I'm probably only going to be here a couple more days because now that I have this, I'm going to just have to film like crazy and upload when I can. I don't know how long it is going to take for me to get the stuff out of the iPad, but I really want to do that because I have a little bit of Trump stuff. And I really wanted to showcase that. I wanted everybody to know that I was back and I was here. And I'm going to try my best to learn this device. It's just, if you saw the little excuse for a booklet they give you with this, it's really not much at all. And this was my first My first ever cell phone. And you know what? Even here, the booklet's like this. And half of it's in Spanish. This is, one of the things is the security notice thing, and the other just as very basic things in it, like a diagram for what's in the phone and stuff. But anyway, just the very bare minimum. But I just wish that, I guess now that I have this, as long as I'm in a Wi-Fi thing, I could check the weather, but there's not quite enough channels that I could get a real grasp on the news unless I happen to catch news time at one of those channel things. But I feel bad for my friend who's staying here. He was supposed to go to church this morning, and I saw this flyer for this real good breakfast out in McPherson Square. And I mean, they had crab cakes. Okay, you had me at crab cakes. So I said, you know, after seeing how expensive food is at your Safeway, I said, I would really like to go to this. And he didn't think he'd be able to make it. If the dinner was at 10 o'clock and his church thing was at 11, he didn't think there was any way he could make it. And I hope I don't go to hell for leading him into the sin of foregoing a meal. But, you know, I'm sorry. Food is expensive like this, and I can't imagine if there is a deity, and a deity not only loves us, created us, and actually has the time to interact at all of our affairs. I think a person would understand that you have a chance to get a free meal when food is really expensive and it's really cold and you're not what you call financially flush. You should be able to get your needs met. You know, people find love in their heart all the time and still find religion in church-like things without going to a physical thing. You don't need to be in a building to do those things. And so I don't think any nice God is going to be angry at you for getting a meal instead of going to church this Sunday. So now, I'm not the one to be any authority on this, because look at me. I call myself a heathen, except heathen is an actual religion. It's not just a term that's used by some people to mean anybody whose spirituality is not like theirs. And I want to minimize how many times I use words wrong. So, but I feel like I haven't been able to do very much since I've been here, because I am staying with somebody who has to staff this vigil. And when I'm out with him, I have to stick around with him like a shadow so I don't get lost. And once I'm here, the only way I could get online is to go in this room. And I haven't yet felt confident enough to do more running around by myself, because even though I have a cell phone now, I still can't let him know that I'm outside to let me in, because I can't make calls with this unless I use that thing where you could make, if you have a Wi-Fi thing, like for a while there, I had a Google Voice account and I never used it for anything. And if anything, all I got was spam calls and no physical calls ever. So I couldn't even use this phone as it is to get in if he was home and I was outside. So I have to think about that. But I am going to try to see as much as I can for the time that I'm here. I want to do more than just these live streams. I want to make some videos and upload them and stuff. But I really missed everybody. I missed being online. And but you understand that the stuff we've been going through between packing for this and then finding out that I'm going to be actually having to physically move and still taking care of my mom and stuff and trying to minimize her stress. Because a couple of weeks ago, she was popping nitroglycerins. And again, she didn't want to stress me out about it, because this was happening when I was at that place on Saturdays. So I don't like leaving her alone for too long. And I had arranged for people to catch up, not only call, but physically go there every day. But she said she didn't want that because she doesn't want to go downstairs. So I understand that. She's afraid of falling down the steps or getting caught on the banister or something. So Okay, I'm gonna give you guys one more look at the beautiful stuff here, the fool's gold here, the pyrite. And I'm gonna give you one more look at the coffee machine. It is really good coffee. But I'm gonna get ready to close this out because this is powering out a lot. And there's something about a football game on. And I gotta take one of these cetirizine pills because my sinuses are absolutely shot. And I have a feeling they're probably gonna be letting people smoke tobacco in there. And I can't deal with tobacco well in the enclosed area. So, all right, I am going to, I guess, end this. Now, I don't even know how to stop this thing. What I'm pressing, I honestly don't know. Orientation is locked. Rotate device back. Okay. All right. I am going to, I don't know how to turn this on. It's a live thing. This is how you do it. Am I sure I want to stop streaming? Yes. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I am live from Washington, D.C., and I am Leathur Rokk, and I will talk to you maybe in a couple hours, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I'll see you then. Thank you for holding on and not forgetting about me. Live from Washington.